think I was giving you? No, of course not. Oh, thank you.
In honor of Rich.
We're on air.
We good? Jen Cox, we ready? Ready over there? Head in the back. Sit. You know, when you report, you have to wear the hat. It's the lucky hat, like the sorting hat. Wes just says, Bring it. Okay, here we go. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the December 14th, 2023 Windsor Unified School District Regular School Board Meeting. Very glad that you're here. School goes out for the holiday recess next Friday, a week from tomorrow. And so we'll probably say it several times, happy holidays to everybody and pushing through these last 6 days. I will inform you that based on the announcement that's in our agenda, Trustee Rich Carnation is joining the meeting remotely. He is on telephone. He has been on the telephone for about an hour since we've been in closed session. He is as listed on there at the Grand Wailea Hotel in Hawaii. And so if someone wanted to see him there, they can go to room 6082 and sit with him, which is what you have to do under the Brown Act. So thank you, Rich. And he's sending me a not friendly emoji on the phone. Because we have a remote attendee, even though we usually only do it for resolutions and ordinances, every vote that we take will be a roll call vote. So, and Jen Cox knows that. Okay. With that, if we could have a roll call, please, Jen.
President Adams.
Here.
Paul Cagono.
Here.
Stephanie Watt. Here. Malinali Lopez.
Here.
Student board members Meadow Graves and Kai Ossie. Here.
And Rich Carnation, are you there?
Yes.
Sorry, Rich, I forgot you.
He's in the box. Good. All present. Report out of closed session. Can we do it?
We do have one, but yes, please.
Okay. I am pleased to report out of closed session on closed session item number 1.4, the consideration of student readmission case number 042423. The board met with the student and parent, and we voted unanimously to readmit the student starting in the January semester. And that's very pleased, as I've commented and others have. That does not always happen when there's an expulsion from the district. We hope that it does. And this student has done very, very well, and we welcome the student back. So I don't think there's anything else to report out of closed session. Okay. If we could have the flag salute then by Trustee Lopez.
All right, thanks, guys.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Fellow trustees, do we have any adjustments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none. Celebrating Success 3.2, Cali Kalmeckic Language Academy. Ooh, here they come. Please make sure your microphone is on.
Hello? Okay. Good evening, Windsor School Board members, and thank you for inviting us to present to you today. My name is Elenia Marquez. I am the president of the Cali Kalmeckic Associate Student Body, and I am here with our secretary, Mia Pola, and Addison Grenier. We are here to talk to you about all the things our ASB is doing this school year. Prior to this year, ASB was a club. We met once a week during lunch with a few participants. This year, for the first time in many years, we have a leadership elective with 30 students. We meet every morning during our first period. This has allowed us to complete many different projects that we have included all of the students in our school, all the way from TK to 8th grade. We have done the traditional activities that we have done in the past with our middle school, like rallies and dances. We have one rally a quarter, and we had a Halloween dance this year, and we'll have 2 more dances. Now Mia will share about our fun activities.
We also have fun competitions. We brought back Copa Cali, which is a middle school intramural lunch soccer tournament. This week, we are hosting our second winter door decorating competition. This year, all classrooms from TK to 8th grade were included in the contest. One more fun activity our school is doing, although it is not led by us, is Riding for Focus, in which middle school students get to ride their bikes during PE or one of their classes as a way to help them focus during class time. Besides these fun activities, we are also in charge of the weekly announcements. Every week we write, record, and edit a video announcement for all grades. Addison will now share about our SEL project.
We're also trying to focus on social emotional learning by creating activities that connect to our SEL theme of the month. For example, during Kindness Month, 2 of our members went to all of the TK classes and led a lesson. During Gratitude Month, we created a thankful tree for all middle school students. We passed out leaves to all of our middle schoolers. They wrote what they are thankful for, and then they displayed it on a tree we created. This month, which is Mindful Month, many of our ASB students went to all the TK to 2nd grade classes and led a lesson of mindfulness. We also are creating a happiness collage where all the students from 3rd to 8th grade are drawing in what they're happy for us to display.
We are excited to keep thinking and creating new ideas to include all of our students from TK to 8th grade. Thank you once again for letting us come and share about our student leadership team with you.
Thank you very much, ladies. Oh, don't sit down yet. We may have some questions. Any comments or questions from the board?
I just want to say that all of you are amazing. You did such a fantastic job of presenting in a room of adults. You're awesome.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank you for what you're doing. I think it's great to have your passion, and it's obvious that you are a instrumental in leaders. You're being leaders at your site, and I want to thank you for that.
It's great to hear about how amazing leadership is doing at our middle schools, because when you do get great and you come to the high school, we do even better. It's amazing. And I'm very excited. Thank you guys so much for coming.
So I want to thank you for role modeling for your fellow students. I liked very much that you were down in the TK and with the littles, because things that the teachers say or we say, somebody who's 12, 13 years old and one of the 7th or 8th graders at their school carries 100 times more weight. And so you doing that makes a huge difference for those kids. And thank you very much. I really also appreciate for the administrators that are here when we have students come to talk about our schools. We've done that a number of times now. Here's some of the older students who have come. You can imagine what it's like if you were at 4th or 5th grade at Brooks and they were terrified, but they did well too. So thank you and happy holidays. Really appreciate your leadership. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move to item 3.4, public comment on non-agenda items. Skip one, Bill. 3.3. I'm sorry, not Heather. We'll get back to you. Although Heather gets first spot if there's a line. I'm sorry. 3.3, our student board members to my left, Meadow Graves and Kai Arce. Friends.
I'm used to being the first slide, guys. Well, part of this is from November because our meeting happened before some of the events that happened. But in the middle, you can see some pictures from our Harvest Feast over at North Bay Met. And that was really fun. It brought a lot of community together. We had our family members come out, some friends. And then to the left is the Oaksgiving, which is a new thing this year. So it will be starting annually every year, which is very similar to our Harvest Feast, but done at WOA. And that was really amazing. Kai and I got to pop by, and it was really nice seeing everyone connect and just have a meal together. And I got some student feedback, and they just overall said that they had a really good time. And then if you look at the top right, we just got back from our conference at the beginning of this month. That is Kai, our other student trustee, on a panel at our semi-annual for us, correct? As an annual conference, we go semi-annually. That was really amazing. It was very beneficial. And then a couple things that I don't have on my thing I'm going to say. Tomorrow, we have a concert at the Big Gym in Cali, Calmeca. It would be amazing if anyone can come and show their support. Kai and I will be there. And there's also the winter formal tomorrow at 7 p.m. for any of the high school students who are going. And then on Saturday, the 16th, there is a toy drive, also at Cali, Calmeca, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Next slide, thank you very much. So we have our amazing winter wonderland on the left there, top left, that we had over at the high school. Great success. Everybody came out, it was a lot of fun. Just like last year, we had Jaggy Santa Claus, which is great. That was a lot of fun. In the middle, we have our Under the Sea, the Little Mermaid play at the Windsor Middle, which was great. We had one of the clubs at the high school, actually Interact Club, was selling cookies there. So it's great to have the high school and the middle school come together, do some stuff together. We also have our club carnival, which was all of our clubs coming out and recruiting for the start of the next semester. So that was a great success. Also, I want to say tonight we have right at this moment actually, there's a concert at the middle school, which is amazing. Just talking to some students in the orchestra today about it, they sounded like they were very excited. Also, we have our, of course, winter formal coming up, and over the last week, we've had an amazing teacher versus teacher competition at the high school. It's going back and forth. We've had a great toy and food drive as well, and I've had a lot of fun.
Any comments or questions by the board to the student trustees? Okay, thank you very much. Now, not getting ahead of myself, item 3.4, public comment on non-agenda items for the Cullen report. And anyone else who would like to?
So I'm Heather Cullen, and I just wanted to add to Meadows' announcement. The Cali Winter Concert starts at 6:30. Some people had some confusion on that. Excuse me, the calendar separated fourth and fifth grade as different concerts. They're all together, and it starts at 6:30. So get there early for parking. I wanted to announce something about the toy and food drive. They have not had enough people show up to help wrap presents. So they have over 300 presents that need wrapping between now and Saturday morning. So you can go to windsorfoodandtoydrive.com and click on the volunteer. They're going to do another impromptu gift wrapping. So if anyone can come help with that, we'd be really grateful. I don't know what time of day or night they're going to do it, but I think if you just contact them, they will. You could do whatever what they need. And then on a more next Tuesday, the Windsor Middle School Drama Club and Choir Club are having a cookie decorating booth over by the snow. So they've made this really beautiful little booth where little kids can come in for $5, decorate a cookie, have some hot cocoa, and sit down and have a little Christmas story read to them. So they get to be in there for like 20 minutes, and it's their little fundraiser that they are doing for that. So that's all. Thank you.
So Heather, you said by the snow. That's in the Christmas tree grove?
Yes.
In the maple trees?
It'll be there from 5 to 8.
Okay, thank you.
5 to 8.
Next Tuesday, the 19th.
There's birds somewhere. Thank you.
That sounds not good. Okay. Capable hands are dealing with the chirping noise. Cool. 3.5, Superintendent Decker.
Thanks. Short report today.
Thank you very much, ladies. Good job.
Short report today, but I want to share that we recently refinanced a bond. our 2008 bond and actually saved the taxpayers of Windsor $1.7 million. So there was still an outstanding balance, and by refinancing, just imagine you refinancing your house, getting better rates, you save money on the end of your refinance. That's kind of what we did. And when we began the process, it was about $800,000, but the rates over the course of 3 weeks got so much better that we ended up saving $1.7 million instead of $800,000. Good news. And then I just want to share that Kristen Hamilton is our varsity volleyball coach, and she was recently awarded the State Volleyball Coach of the Year. So that's the entire state. That's all of Southern California. That's not regionally, based at all, which is a pretty amazing thing. She's led us to back-to-back state titles. We had an undefeated season this past season, state playoff berths the past 2 seasons. She came to us in 2020 during COVID. So she's really had a great run, and it's continuing, and pretty cool. And then I won't talk too much about CSBA, but did get to go to CSBA with my board. We had a good time together and got to learn more about one another more than anything else. I think that's the most valuable thing at CSBA is being together and talking shop. That's it for my update.
Yeah, thank you. As I learned at CSBA, there are 7 or 8 million, depending on how you count them, K through 12th grade students in California. So of all the volleyball coaches of every stripe and flavor, if you happen to see Ms. Hamilton over there, who I think also helps with the boys who are starting in the spring.
2 boys programs.
She is the #1 volleyball coach in the state of California, which is even difficult to say out loud.
Yeah, she started our beach volleyball program as well and our boys volleyball program.
Yeah, so we now have gone from just girls to 3 different volleyball programs. Cool. Any questions or comments on the superintendent's report? Okay, seeing none. Staff association reports, item 3.6. I see Mr. Hardy is here. Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Sure. Good evening, Jeff Hardy, WDA president. So just a few things. We're looking forward to Austin's report tonight. Our new budget committee chair nominee will be taking notes. Hi, Diane. Subs, Jeremy and I have had this discussion in our monthly meetings, and it's starting to become an increasing concern at our site rep meetings with the union. For example, teachers at Maddie sign up for trainings to improve their skills to better serve the students, but are being called back because a sub is not showing up or that sub is being pulled. And so therefore those teachers aren't getting the trainings that they need to. So I don't know how, we've talked about it. Maybe somebody has some ideas, but it's definitely becoming an increasing concern. We have a draft school calendar ready for you guys. I think Pete, I'll forward it to you tomorrow. You guys can look it over, and we're meeting on Thursday to finalize it. So we're ready for 24-25. And with that, WDA wishes everybody happy holidays and restful times.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for President Hardy while we have him here?
I have a question about subs. At what site are we having trouble getting subs?
It's pretty much every site. But I'm really hearing it from Maddie when we're having our site rep meetings.
Okay, here's an interesting thing. My wife goes on Frontline, and there's hardly ever any jobs available. So I'm trying to figure out where the disconnect is between lack of subs and there not being jobs available to pick up. So I don't know.
I have no idea.
Maybe the superintendent has an idea about that, or
I don't, but we can figure it out. So I can have Pete run a report for us. And we've been looking at this. In fact, we've done the research to potentially increase wages for subs. It comes at a cost. We'll talk about first interim today. So it's just making the decision to take on that cost.
it just puzzles me that there's not jobs available on Frontline, and yet I keep hearing over and over again that there's lack of subs. So what's...
Yeah, we've recently pulled those reports to see how many jobs are unfilled. So we can get that pretty easily. It's Jeff and I have talked to his point, and if we talk about it, I'm going to follow up on it. So we really have looked into this, and I can get all that information to you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Wish you and the WDEA well over the holidays. Thank you very much for coming. Okay. With that, we will go to item 3.7, Board of Trustees reports. Let's maybe start down on the right. Sir? Let's start on the left today. We did have a debrief. It was on our agenda at 4:30 to talk about the California School Board Association Annual Conference. The governance team, including our student trustees and the superintendent, Jen Cox, had a program for executive assistants that went to talk about, the merits, what we learned, the value, things we might do different, et cetera. So I don't know if you all want to add anything else to what the report that you've raised already.
I'll say as a new student trustee, or well, I guess every trustee is usually new, the students at least, but it was very valuable to learn about just the roles on the board, how everything works, also how to make some change, how to actually affect different policies, how to change things. I think it was also very eye-opening to talk to other school districts and realize they're having different problems, same problems, having a whole different experience than I am. And I think I speak for the whole board, but I think we learned quite a bit there, at least I did, and certainly with talking to other people. So it was good.
Basically just in agreement with Kai. I think I learned a lot more so in the aspect of being more comfortable in my position and what to do with it, but then also being comfortable with the board. So I feel as if I'm more capable of speaking out about things that I feel, and that I'm very excited with how we're going to work together more so on the year.
Great, thank you. Did you have any events you want to talk about?
I do. I wanted to talk about that I received a very nice email recently from Sonoma State University that there's a joint partnership with the music department and Cali Calmecac to present the theater piece In the Heights. I'm sure you all know about that, but it says here, stage director for In the Heights, Marie Ramirez Downing, will be bringing some of the cast members to perform a piece from the musical with the 4th and 5th grade music classes of Cali Calmecac Language Academy on December 15th at 6:30 p.m. in their school gymnasium. So I just wanted to announce that because I think that that's such a cool partnership. So thank you to whoever worked on this. I think it's awesome.
Hey, everyone. So I'm going to focus on our student trustees a little bit and hype them up because they are amazing. We were at the California School Board Association conference a couple weeks ago, and I think we had a debrief earlier today, but kind of the takeaway was we really valued getting to spend time together, building relationships kind of among our team. And also we kind of noticed that we have a great team and a great school district. You kind of look around and you're like, okay, we're doing all right. Like things are going well. It's really hard right now all across the state, I presume even beyond California, but it seems like there are some serious challenges and we are not facing as many as some others. So it was interesting to see that perspective. But I did want to highlight our student trustees because they did some really cool things. So Kai spoke on a panel about being a student trustee, and I thought just did a really great job representing the experience and representing our school district. So thank you for doing that and putting in that time and effort. And then Meadow, I think, really approached all of the presentations very with a really analytical mindset of what are we getting out of this? Is this worthwhile? How are really kind of breaking down what makes a valuable presentation, what doesn't, and kind of helped us, helped us see kind of how the whole conference went from her perspective in a really impactful way. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And yeah, they're doing amazing. I feel really glad to have both of you part of our governance team. So I just wanted to recognize you during my report.
Great, thank you, Paul.
I feel like I got the short mic today. I have to lean. I did. I'm not kidding.
You're the tallest one.
I wouldn't draw the short straw. So no, my report's pretty short too. I just want to echo that the conference was a great opportunity for me to get to know my fellow board members better, learn some new information, and again, I was also impressed with the student, our student board members, and just they're wise beyond their years. And I want to congratulate them on stepping up and doing this thankless job. No, I do really appreciate it. The couple things to highlight since the last time I met with Mr. Williams on the Ren Star scores from the first to the second, and we're working. We'll leave it at that and dive into that maybe later a little bit. I also met with Ms. Zacconi at Brooks about, she wanted to pick my brain on some math ideas. And I told her this, and I'll tell everyone, you want to get your math scores up in elementary school, get them on extra math. It's a 10-minute program to learn your math facts. I will yell it from the rooftops until somebody actually listens and says, let's make these kids get on that 10 minutes a day. I guarantee you that your scores will go up significantly. And that's what I told her. And then I just wanted to report that out here in the open forum. And that's it. That's my report.
Cool. It was alluded to, but I think for you all to hear it and those playing at home, we looked, I don't know how many conference presentations there were, like every hour and a half, maybe 6 or 8 cycles, 10 or 15 every hour and a half. And particularly Meadow was helping us on social emotional learning and student health, attending student mental health, student, success and social emotional learning, student and communities on the fentanyl crisis, and things that we agreed amongst ourselves that we would go to as many different of these seminars, presentations, keynote speakers as we could, right? So that, in my mind, is why it's a real value to our community in the district to get us down there. Yeah. So with that, we will go to item 3.8, the approval of the minutes for November 16th, 2023. Unless there's any questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, first by Stephanie, second by Malinelli. All those in favor? This again is a roll call vote. Please, Jen. I will see if Rich Carnation. Mahalo, Rich, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, let's do him first.
Student Board Member Meadow Graves.
Do I just say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Kayasi.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes?
Paul Cagorno.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Malinali Lopez.
Yes.
And Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Thank you, Rich. Go to mute, please. All right. We'll finally go to employee recognitions, part of our monthly effort. HR Director Pete Sullivan. Pete.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. And before we acknowledge the expertise and knowledge and skills of our maintenance, technology, and transportation departments, I do want to thank the board for their flexibility in making that last minute switch. We have rescheduled the formal recognition at the Maddie Washburn Elementary for January 10th, and Jen has, I think, sent that out. And then we will also send out we will announce the date of the meeting for these 3 departments as well.
Great.
So we're going to start with technology, and this is from Brad Rigney, and he is recognizing Paul Ringland. And one of the neat things about this is, generally speaking, only sites know about these folks, but pretty much everybody in the district has benefited from the input from these people. So this is kind of neat. So this is from Brad. I wanted to take a moment to express my sincere appreciation for the exceptional contributions of Paul Ringland to our team. Paul's remarkable ability to support both staff and students, coupled with his amazing problem-solving skills, has truly set him apart as an invaluable member of our community. What distinguishes Paul from his peers is his unwavering, everything is possible attitude, regardless of the nature or complexity of the request. Paul consistently demonstrates unparalleled commitment to finding solutions. His positivity and can-do spirit have not only uplifted the team morale, but also fostered an environment where challenges are seen as opportunities for innovation. One of the most impressive aspects of Paul's skill set is his seamless transition between network and systems work. He truly is an expert in both domains. effortlessly navigating the complexities of each. Versatility not only showcases his technology proficiency, but also highlights his dedication to mastering diverse aspects of our work. Paul's impact extends far beyond his technical expertise. He's a team player who fosters collaboration and unity. His willingness to share knowledge and support colleagues has undoubtedly contributed to the overall success of our projects. Paul Ringland's exceptional abilities and positive attitude make him a standout member of our team. I believe his dedication and enthusiasm are deserving of recognition, and I'm grateful to have him as a colleague. Take a moment to celebrate Paul and his outstanding work. All right, this is for transportation, written by Erica Garcia. And Erica is recognizing Dulce Delgado Maldonado for her role as a staff member. Her optimism and positive energy are contagious. Dulce brings a strong willingness to collaborate and support fellow staff members when needed. Her ability to set and achieve goals has been impressive. Dulce focus and commitment to learn each route and assist in the office have contributed to our team's success. I recognize and appreciate Dulce for her flexibility and adaptability. She is ready to assist anytime in any way. Her continuous improvement is an example to all. And maintenance, a little unknown fact. I just learned this recently. This person has a near perfect attendance record. And when you hear who it is and you know how long she's been working for the district, it's even more amazing. Jackie Alejos. So this is written by RC. I am pleased to write this letter to express our heartfelt appreciation for the remarkable 33 years of dedicated service that Jackie Alejos has contributed to our district. Throughout her tenure, Jackie has showcased her unwavering commitment and versatility by seamlessly transitioning through various roles, starting from her initial position as a yard duty. Jackie's invaluable contributions extend far beyond her diverse job portfolio. She consistently goes above and beyond to support and assist colleagues across all sites and departments. Her willingness to lend a helping hand has greatly contributed to the collaborative spirit within our organization. One of Jackie's standout qualities is her meticulous attention to detail when it comes to managing budgets. Her efforts have played a pivotal role in ensuring financial well-being of our district. Even in the face of challenges, Jackie has demonstrated resilience, resourcefulness, always finding effective solutions to maintain fiscal responsibility. A testament to her commitment, Jackie's attendance record is exemplary, with almost no instances of missed work. Her unwavering dedication to the district has undoubtedly left a lasting impact on our collective success. As Jackie approaches her well-deserved retirement at the end of January, we want to extend our deepest gratitude for her years of service. Her contributions have been instrumental in shaping the positive culture and success of our district. Please join me in congratulating Jackie Alejos on her outstanding career.
Thank you very much, Pete.
Thank you.
And a well done close to the program for this calendar year. And we'll look forward to hearing when these three will. Okay, good. We look forward to that in January. Okay, we will move on then to item number 4, our annual school board organization. And I wanted to ask before we get into 4.1 and 4.2, do we want to reverse those? Do we want to elect to buy? That seems strange to me.
Your purview, Bill.
Only for a minute. Yeah, so I think we'll do 4, and we could do a slate if there's a nomination. Generally for my colleagues, there would be a nomination for president. It could be for president and vice president. But if there's more than one nomination for president, we can do it that way. So I will open the floor to nominations for president.
Just a quick question before we start. Don't we usually have a time, is it after the election where we talk about the outgoing president and, everything we love about them? Is there a time for that built in? Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Let's do that at 4.2B.
Okay, so for 4.2A, I will nominate Malinali Lopez to be our next president.
Okay. Is there any other nominations for president? Rich, on the phone, maybe say no if you don't have one, or yes, one way or the other?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Is there a second to Malinelli's nomination for president?
I'll second.
Okay, nominated, second by Paul, right? This would also include a preferential vote. All those in favor of the nomination of Malinelli Lopez for president? You need to do a roll.
Aye.
No, that was Rich and he said yes.
Aye.
Then we do roll call.
Yes.
We could also take 4.1 through 4.6 together and do a resolution for all of those if you
We
want.
will, once we get this piece done, we will,
All right,
because,
so we'll switch seats.
Bill Adams. Oh,
Yes.
Sorry, you two have done yes. Bill Adams.
yes.
Paul Gagona.
Yes.
Stephanie Amott.
Yes.
Malinalli. Oh, do you get to vote on
She
yourself?
does, yeah.
Do I vote?
Malinalli Lopez.
Yes,
Congratulations.
thank you.
So you can shift now, and I think we elect the vice president. Then we can talk about me if you'd like, and then perhaps I would suggest lumping 4.3 and 4.7 into one item, because that takes a little bit of conversation for us to put that together.
So we're now nominating
Vice President?
Vice President? Okay. So I would like to nominate Stephanie Ahmad for Vice President.
I would second that. Need to ask if there's any other nominations.
Oh, are there any other nominations?
No.
No? Thank you, Rich.
I'm
Madam-
in agreement.
Kayasi.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes?
Rich Carnation. Paul
Yes.
Gagona.
Yes.
Stephanie Amott.
Yes.
Malinalli Lopez.
Yay.
Great.
Thank you.
I hit the bench chair.
So I think we could now shift to, saying a few words about Mr. Bill Adams here. So is there anybody that would like to start?
I'll start.
Thank you.
Because, okay, so Bill is someone who is so enthusiastic about being a board member, and I just feel that he is out there, he is representing, he is hyping up our district, and he deserves recognition for just how much he loves this job. And I appreciate that energy that you bring to being on the board, and the enthusiasm and the seriousness with which you approach the job. And I just want to take a moment to recognize you and all you bring. And thank you for serving as our president. I think, is it your second or third time?
It's the second or third time I get.
Yeah, it's the second or third time. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Paul, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to thank Bill as well. When I was, my first couple of meetings, I was really shell shocked, and he was, I was sitting right on his right the whole time, and I didn't know I hate this short. Okay, let me use the big mic. So but Bill would look going, Paul, you got anything to add to that? And it was like, oh, thanks for putting me on the spot. But it wasn't coming from that. It was coming from the place of wanting to include me. And I really appreciate that you welcomed me, in that way right from the beginning. Thanks.
All right, so now we'll go to Rich. Do you want to say anything, Rich?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. It's been, I've really appreciated Bill being the president this last year. He's very articulate, and he's able to say what I feel in about 1/3 of the amount of words. And I really respect that ability.
What am I doing wrong?
And so anyhow, I appreciate Bill's leadership, the way he is able to keep the meetings focused and on task, and his depth of information and understanding of how governments work, primarily because of a lot of the work that he does in the private sector. And anyhow, we as a district are lucky and able to reap the benefits of having that experience to help us be the best school district available. So Bill, thank you for your work, your efforts, and your leadership.
Thank you, Rich.
All right, Kai, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I really Oh, I'm sorry, madam. I must say, again, of course, first year, but when I came onto the board, I was talking to Jackson, the previous trustee, and he said, don't worry, Bill will tell you everything. He'll whisper in your ear. He'll tell you what everything means. And it's been true. Bill's been a great guide. If there's anything I don't know, I'm like, all right. I'm sure he'll look to me and explain it to me. Even when, I don't ask. He just knows. He just knows I need help. And also it's been great 'cause, I don't know. It's just an amazing president. I don't think I could, obviously I don't know any other president, but he's the best that I could have asked for. That's right, exactly.
Very similar to what Paul and Kai were saying. It's just like anytime that I was just kind of locked in or I didn't know what was going on, Bill would always make sure that that wouldn't stay that way. And it was very helpful because I was very scared coming into this position. I didn't know what any of the terms anybody was saying. And now I like halfway know what's going on when you guys talk. And that's all because of Bill. And not only that though, like professionally, he has been really amazing to work with, but just being an overall amazing person to work with. And the conference really helped me see the more so not board member side of Bill. And I'm very excited to see more so of what you have to say without your president hat on.
So I wanted to go last because I just wanted to say, Bill, I sincerely appreciate your commitment to the board and your passion. And I think the thing I appreciate about you the most is that even when there have been divergent points of view on the board, you're always willing to listen with an open mind. And that is a rare quality, especially in the times that we live in, right? So thank you so much, for having that patience to listen and hear everybody out. And we do have a little gift for you.
All right, I'll take presentos. For opening now?
Yes, we're opening now. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Let's see what we got here. And then maybe we can get a picture. Oh, there's, maybe we could, Heather. Heather stands there in front. Let's gather up together. Oh, this is very nice. Here, yeah, well. Here.
What does it say?
Yeah, can you read it?
Oh, it says, in recognition and gratitude to Bill Adams for his dedication and leadership to the students of the Windsor Unified School District 2023 Board President.
Very nice.
Yeah, so there we go. Thank you. Cool.
Thank you.
So we're going to change chairs over here. I'm going to become a backbencher. We talk a lot here. One of the things that's amazing to go to that conference is we hear good ideas and go, oh man, we could do that. And about 47% of it, in my view, is say, great boogly woogly, thank heavens we are not having the difficulties that those other folks have. We have no sense of perspective about how well off we are. Jeremy does a little bit with some of his connections and Austin does from the business side. But we as the trustees, as the governance team, I certainly, having done this for more than 10 years, I simply don't have a perspective of how well we do until we get into that environment. And I want to thank this board and all the other boards that I have been privileged to work with, because we have a tradition here that our sum is bigger than the pieces of its parts. We are stronger, I think, because we do have diverse opinions. We do listen patiently and presume the best intent of someone, even if we're not really grasping where they're coming from when they're doing it. And you all know if this says the students, but I will say, I know Jeff is here and the principals are here, the staff, our community. We don't, if we have something that needs to be said, our courageous conversations frequently are done privately and we praise in public. And, that's why we do not have some of the difficulties, I think, that other districts sadly are encountering, including some that are very close to us here in Sonoma County. So thank you. It's been an honor. I love working with the kids. I will tell you, having a kid come back after an expulsion today is a great exclamation point on being on the board. That to me, it's sort of one child at a time. And when we can bring someone who's been on the fringe and we have them come back into the community, that's a wonderful thing. So thanks for this honor to do this.
Are you getting over? Okay, it's under what you're doing. So I did want to say a few words myself. I just wanted to say, thank you to the board, for your support and for your nomination tonight. It does mean a lot to me, and not just as a board member, but also as a parent of an 11th grader. It's been a challenging last year for me. My daughter has been going through lots of different things, and I just want to thank Mr. Williams, for your support, and then also Ms. Buckman for your support. And then also, I think just on the board, something I mentioned in a previous meeting is that my mom, she had a stroke in May, and then she had another stroke in August. And in spite of all of that, she's doing amazingly well because she's been in rehabilitation. But it's been a very difficult year for me. And I think that I'm here because of the support of this board and also of Jeremy Decker and Jen Cox and all of the staff that has just been incredibly supportive. So I think that there were many times when I didn't feel that I could stay here, but everyone kept pushing me forward and saying, yes, you can do it. And I was doing some reflection on that, and I was thinking that so many times for women who are in leadership roles, it's very common to have imposter syndrome, where you don't feel like you belong in the position that you're in. And I've been very much, I would say, a victim of that. And I keep reminding myself that, across history, women have always had to prove themselves over and over to everyone else and also to themselves. Because for those of us that study history, it took over 100 years for women to even have the right to vote in the United States. And that was accomplished by a lot of hard work, by writing and lectures and demonstrations and all of the work that women put in just to achieve that right. So that, to me, tells me that there's still a lot of work to be done because we still don't have nearly enough representation, for women in this country. And with all of that in mind, I feel so honored to be here in this moment. Okay, so I think now we're at the part of our agenda where we're going to be looking at the representations of committees across the school district. And Jen, what is normally the procedure of that? Because I believe in the past we've had a list of the different committees.
One was attached.
It wasn't.
Oh,
I don't think it actually got rated on. It's usually on there. It wasn't.
oh, it's not- okay.
Oh, it's on there.
Okay, I
Sorry.
think
It's
I
just
have
on
it
there.
on here. Okay.
I think the first one, though, we might have to do this separately. Oh, is it on there?
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's on 4.3.
Yeah, we haven't done this.
Yeah. So 4.3 is before we get to the list and do the reorganization, right? That's a separate item, I think.
Separate.
Yes, you've done your reorganization at this point. So now we're on to subcommittees, and 4.3 is where it's attached.
Right.
Yeah, that's what was confusing, but it's there.
Oh, okay. I had read the alternate representative to county committee or school district organization. I didn't know if that was a separate thing.
Right.
Right. And I think in the past, what we've done is we've just given each board member their, preference for what they want to rotate into. So I think with that said, we'll start with Paul. Paul, do you have committees in mind?
Yeah, I think I'll stay with the Windsor Educational Foundation, the We Foundation, if that's okay. And I'd like to stay on the LCAP committee.
Okay.
I think that's all we got on here.
School liaison.
Oh, school liaison. I'd really like to be at either Brooks or Maddie.
I'll switch with you.
Okay.
I'll switch
Okay.
Maddie for,
Okay.
which one are you at
I'm
now?
at Cali now.
Okay, I'll go back to Callie.
Okay, great.
Go in,
Go
back.
So I'm going to Maddie.
All right, and then with that said, Stephanie, we'll go to you, since you're going back to
So
Cali.
I'm going back to Callie.
Where else are you going?
I will stop seeing the rest. What?
Say it the other way every time.
Let's see. I am currently on the policy subcommittee, and I actually want to stay on the policy subcommittee if that works, because I have some ideas about how we can further streamline some of that, because I think it's one area where we haven't really totally figured out how to streamline, and I think we can do it and make it a lot more efficient. So I will stay there and work that through. And then where else am I?
And then one more.
So I'm also at Windsor Oaks and North Bay Met Academy. Does anyone else want those programs? I'm willing to trade if anyone wants, but I'll stay if no one else.
I'll do that. I can do that.
You're gonna.
Yeah.
Okay. So where are you now? So I'll take middle school.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Are you going to stay on DLAC, Stephanie?
I have been on DLAC and I have not been very active. So if anyone else wants it, I will be more active this year. It was just a hard year for me last year. But if anyone else wants it, they can take it, but I will definitely stay if
I think it's helpful,
Okay.
in fact, that you speak Spanish.
True.
So are you staying on DLAC?
I'll stay on DLAC.
Okay, because I believe I'm on DLAC
You are,
as well.
both of you are on.
So I would like to stay on DLAC because I feel like I, started making inroads there, and I also speak Spanish, so it makes
Yes.
sense. Okay. So now let's go to Bill.
I think probably, Mally, for many of the subcommittees, you should probably sub in for me as the president. So I'd like to sub in for you for Windsor Arts now.
Okay.
You and Stephanie would be the natural, that's usually the president and vice president, the town council liaison. So you meet with the mayor and when there's a six-way meeting with the superintendent and the town manager and their two leads. I'm happy to relieve you at Windsor Middle School. Usually the president, because you have a number of other things, doesn't have a specific liaison assignment unless you'd really want one. So I'm happy to sub in for you there.
I thought Stephanie was
I had
doing it.
taken middle
could.
school and she took North Bay Met and Oaks. Do you want to take North Bay Met and Oaks?
Are you doing both Callie and the middle school?
Yeah.
Okay, good for you.
Do you want to do North Bay Met?
I do.
Okay.
North Bay Met.
Sir.
Will you stay on north of Arata ad hoc? I think it's best if we
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah, I think Rich and I can do that. Did we formally
put
create
Rich
a
there, too.
Windsor Creek ad hoc too with?
Not formally, no. You guys just
Okay.
designated Rich and Stephanie.
Okay. And the County Committee on School Districts Representatives, I know Rich was interested in the elected position. I think also that's a presidential piece for you, Mally, that the second from the bottom there.
Oh, so
The
maybe,
County Committee on School Districts?
Yep.
Okay.
so Malinali and Rich
Yeah.
on there? Okay. Is that
Okay.
everything? And then Rich, do you want to stay on Windsor High
Can you hear us, Rich?
and Brooks?
I can hear Bill pretty well and everybody else kind of.
Okay. So going to the liaisons, the question was,
Is it my turn?
yes, do you want to stay on Brooks and Windsor High? I'm happy to take one of those if you'd like. I just have
Hey, how about if I stay at Windsor High and you take Brooks?
got it.
Would that work?
That works.
And then on if I understand, I think we're just going down this whole sheet.
Mm-hmm.
On the facilities, I'd like to stay on the facilities. If nobody else is really chomping on the bit there.
In that vein, Steph, I think,
Okay.
Mally, the policy subcommittee would be another one as president. You should probably come off that.
Okay.
I'm happy to sub in on that. Paul, would you like to
Sure.
maybe step in unless Stephanie, you really want to do subcommittees?
The policy.
Facilities? No. Facilities.
Oh, facilities.
Do you want to step in?
Sure.
Okay.
So that'd be Rich and
Facilities.
Paul.
Rich and Paul. Okay.
far as the liaisons, I'll stay at the high school or the middle school. I'd like to, if somebody doesn't want to do the middle school, I can jump in on that one
I
too.
can trade,
But
Rich, do you
Stephanie's
want the
doing-
middle school and I'll take the high school?
say that again, Bill.
Did you want to swap? So Stephanie had stepped up for the middle school. She was asking if you wanted to swap, to have Stephanie be at the high school and you be at the middle school? Or do you want?
I'm okay to stay at the high school. That'd be fine.
Okay. Just to keep mom away from her two high school students. I get it. Well played, Rich.
Well, I just got a text from both of her children saying no.
That's about a half a dozen Brown Act violations.
And then, no, from her children, not her. And then, let me see here. If somebody wants me to keep doing the boosters, I can keep doing the boosters, or if there's something else somebody wants me to fill in there.
Stay on boosters, Rich.
Yeah, I think boosters in the high school is a good synergy there.
Yeah, sounds good.
So maybe yes.
And then the North of Arata and County Committee just stay the same as well.
Yeah. So,
Jen, were you able to take all those notes?
We got it.
Okay. Jen is on it.
like making sauce.
Okay.
Okay, we're done with that, Rich.
Yeah, do we need to take action?
We were going to roll.
We do, but let's roll them all together. 4-3 through 4-6. We'll roll together and then we could just take one vote.
Okay.
So I would
do
make
it.
a motion for 4-3 to 4-6 as Jen Cox has accurately reflected them. And usually just that'll go out tomorrow or next week and we could look to make sure that what we get from her is what, so that's in place. So I'll make that motion to approve those 4 items together.
Okay,
I'll second.
thank you. All those in favor?
We have to roll call.
Oh,
Normally it's
roll
all in
call.
favor.
Okay,
Malinali Lopez,
yes.
Paul Cagorno,
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad,
Yes.
Bill Adams,
Yes.
Rich Carnation,
Yes.
Meadow,
Well done.
Yes.
Kai.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're moving on to 4.7, suggested board meeting dates for 2024.
It's in front of you, not much to say on it. Just kept the same cadence that we currently have.
Okay. So this is not like, is there a comment?
Yeah, we had talked briefly regarding the superintendent's evaluation that we had in closed session about possibly having an additional meeting to discuss those particulars, I think, ahead of our January meeting. And I think, Paul, you had raised that question, or somebody did. And we may want to talk about that, just to add that now, because we can add some workshops, or if we have plans for workshops. But I think since that would happen before our next meeting, we may want to see if we want to do that. So it would not change that meeting date as proposed. It would be, and it may be, Mally, just Jen can reach out and just do a poll for what works, for a special closed session on that issue.
Okay.
Okay,
Maybe just the week before.
That would be fine with me. Maybe just, yeah,
Yeah, that would be great.
yeah. So that,
11.
okay. We'll see whatever she's going to pull.
Do you want to reflect that in the calendar now? Because then it's agendized, it's just everything's easier.
That would be my suggestion, to do a slight amendment.
Yep.
Add up, maybe, excuse me, perhaps just, a evaluation workshop, closed session at a date ahead of that regular meeting. Right? That gives us the flexibility that
Should we put January 11th, Thursday,
maybe tentative.
tentative?
Yeah, if we could still do a poll, that would be
We can always do a special board meeting anytime. So if we did the 11th, then you could still do a special board meeting that's a different time, and you can
aren't
cancel the
we
meeting if you
doing the
want.
employee recognition on the 10th?
I don't have anything on there on the 10th.
I think
Yeah,
that was the
Manny.
date that was announced, yeah.
Oh, maybe could we
That's
do,
earlier in the day.
oh, okay, because I was thinking, maybe we could just do it right after.
No, it's kind of like at 1:30.
Oh, I see, okay. Okay,
It
never
could be a
mind.
TBD. It can be that as well.
Yeah, let's do TBD early January meeting, special closed session.
Make sure this.
And Jen, do we need to vote on that?
Will you just go through all of the dates? You just make sure that nothing glaring is there, that you're not on vacation or whatever. We've just gone, like the superintendent said, we've just gone through the way that we've done it this year. And of course, I avoided holidays and that sort of
Jen, there's one thing, I think we may have to be before December 19th because the reorganization has to happen at a certain time. Remember, there's about a 5-day window between when first interim has to be presented and the reorganization. Did we check that?
Yes, we have.
We have, so the 19th is okay.
Yeah, we've
All right.
already had the update from SCLS.
Got it, thank you.
So is everybody okay with the dates? Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to make sure the November meeting, that's not during Thanksgiving break?
Nope,
Okay, great.
Thanksgiving's late.
Okay, got it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, so moving right along to consent action items.
okay, we don't have to,
We have to vote on it.
Oh, we do have to vote on it. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the board meetings for 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I think we have to roll call.
Roll call. I'll get the hang of this eventually.
Just in time for it to change for next meeting.
Malinali. Meadow.
Yes.
Kai.
Yes.
Malinali.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes,
Rich.
Yes,
well done.
Okay, we'll now move to the consent action items. Items 5.1 through 5.11. I believe we have a recusal from item 5.11, so we'll handle that separately. We'll do 5.1 through 5.10 first. Do we have any other recusals or items that we want to pull and discuss?
Nope.
Okay,
I just would like a question on 5.2.
okay. Go ahead.
The, on that is a question for Austin. I couldn't tell, are they replacing the wood that they're replacing? Is it all pressure treated wood or only part of it? If it's not, I'm familiar with what repair they're making. If it's not pressure treated, all of the things that they're doing pressure treated, they should give us a quote to replace it with pressure treated so we don't have to do this again in another 10 or 15 years.
It's all pressure treated.
Did you hear that? It's
Okay.
ultras. Yeah,
Yeah, perfect.
thank you. Okay.
So I'm going to ask a question quickly. Do we ask for public comment on consent items? We don't usually, right?
We don't usually know.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, just making sure.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve 5.1 through 5.10. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Bill. Roll call vote, please. Again?
Meadow.
Yes.
Kai.
Yes.
Malinali.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes,
Rich.
Yes,
Okay, moving on to item 5.11. Do we have any further recusals or discussion on this item? Okay. All right, I will make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
good job.
All right,
All those in favor?
and it'll be another roll call
Another roll call.
vote.
Meadow.
Yes.
Kai.
Yes.
Malinali.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes,
Bill.
Yes,
Rich.
and he's going to be recused.
Oh, he's
he's
recusing.
recused himself.
Okay, thank you, and we are done with consent.
Okay. All right. So now we're moving on to item 6.1, consideration of approval for the community schools grant.
Yep, and we're actually I'm gonna ask you to table this. So after we put this on the agenda, funding changed and we've got to reassess what we're doing here. So I'm gonna ask to table this item.
Okay. So we're tabling this to the next board meeting?
Potentially, or just tabling it. I'm not sure when it's coming back.
Okay. Thank you.
And I can, just so that sounds scary. What I'm trying to say is we were part of a consortium for a grant. They changed the requirements of the grant. And so our school does not qualify under the new requirements. So we're going to actively search for funds because we no longer qualify for what the funds were going to be. So this was part of that old grant.
I see. Okay, thank you for that explanation. So now we're moving on to item 6.2, consideration of approving the CDSS application to allow the enrollment of 3-year-old children in the current preschool classrooms.
This will be Jessica Borland.
Jessica Bowen?
Hello. So we are looking to approve applying for licensing, community care licensing for our preschool classrooms. Currently, we're going to license one of the classrooms at Maddie's campus, and then next year we'll license some of the ones over at Callie's campus too. Our plan for next year is to have 2 licensed preschool classrooms on both campuses, so a total of 4. And it's just some additional regulations that allow us to serve younger children with our current California State Preschool Program grant. There's some licensing exemptions that allow us to serve 4-year-olds currently, and we just want to open it up so that we can serve more students. If you guys remember, part of where our funding is going right now is to help supplement some of the TK classrooms, and as those children age into being TK age eligible, we'll have more slots available for some younger children to serve them before they get into TK. So that is a little bit about the application process. Do you guys have any questions?
I have a question. You said that you were licensing certain classrooms. And so does that mean that only those classrooms will be able to have the younger 3-year-olds in them? And then, okay.
Yes,
So
yes.
I didn't realize it had to be done by classroom. That seems very onerous.
Well, so it's saying that these classrooms are at a higher level and that the state has agreed that they are fit to serve younger children. And if we went and tried to license the entire school, it would be quite laborious. And there's a lot more regulations for community care licensing than there is for an LEA. So it would be, yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Question, yeah. So like, what will the implementation of this look like at the actual campus?
Well, so there's a pretty lengthy application process. Some of our staff have been working towards completing some of the requirements. And then once we submit the application, they have about 90 days to come out and do a approval with us, where they go through our classroom, look if we're meeting all of the requirements. There's a lot of requirements, so they look at our student files, the children who are enrolled, their files. They look at our staff files. They make sure that everybody who is part of the childcare facility has the right amount of child development units and CPR and all of those kinds of things. And then once they check the classroom out, they check all the staffing out, and they check all of our files out. Then they give us a finalized license and allow us to use that classroom. And then once we're licensed, they come out every 3 years and recertify us. Unless there's a problem, then they'll come out more often.
If you think about it, this is the same thing a home preschool would have to go through. So it's pretty extensive, right?
Wow.
We don't get to rest on our laurels.
Well, I just want to thank you for your work. That sounds like a lot.
You're welcome.
All right, any other comments on this? No? Okay, are there any comments from the public on this item? No. Okay, awesome. So now we're moving on to 6.4. Oh, we have to make a motion? Okay. Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve item 6.2 as presented.
I'll second.
All right, is this another roll call?
Meadow,
Yes.
Kai,
Yes.
Malinali,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes?
Bill,
Yes?
and Rich.
Yes.
All right. So now, finally moving on to 6.4, consideration of discussion.
6.3.
Oh, we're going. Why did we not do?
Guy's very excited about this one.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. It's my notes. Yeah, somehow it's missing from my notes. Where? Oh, there it is. I see. Okay, 6.3, consideration of approval of AB 275, which enables school districts to pay student trustees the same stipend as regular trustees. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
This is a juicy one.
Bill, you want to take it?
Sure. Amongst the cool things we learned at the State School Board Annual Education Conference is that the governor signed an expedited piece of legislation that's effective January 1, 2024, that extends, they are called pupil members, and it's under Education Code 35120. We prefer to call them student trustees. That student trustees, pupil members can receive the same stipend as well as academic credit for their service as an elective credit. What I would propose under that, the stipends that are available are ratcheted by enrollment. Our school district is more than 1,000 and less than 10,000. So our maximum stipend is 240. I believe we received 221. Is that where we are now?
It's right in line with that, yeah.
Okay. So what I would suggest is that we approve, starting in the month of January, the authority that's granted to districts throughout the state to pay the pupil student trustees the same amount as elected trustees. That would be the 221 or whatever the amount is, Austin, as well as its elective course credit based on the number of equivalent instructional minutes. And what I would suggest is we start with one elective credit per semester that they're on. I think we can work it out after that. If it's more than that, I don't know, but I think it's at least one elective credit. So that starting in January, they would receive a monthly stipend, and for the 2 semesters that they would be on during a school year, it starts next month. So these particular 2 would receive 1 elective credit each on their transcript, which I think can probably indicate, we'd have to talk to the registrar, but probably say school board student trustee on their transcript, which would be another valuable thing to have. So that would be my suggestion in light of one of the presentations we went to when we were down there, which is, to my mind, long overdue. So.
Of course it is.
I was interested in who brought this item to the agenda. Was it you, Bill?
I did. I think a day or 2 after we got back, it was in one of the legal handouts we got from the exhibit hall. So yeah, I was not aware of this at all. And I think Friday morning when we were having breakfast with Meadow, it was pretty much a done deal that we needed to bring this forward. So
I had a question for you. Is it possible that instead of the credit, like they don't need the credit, could they just get a cash stipend the way that we do?
it's both and.
Yeah.
Oh, it's both and.
It's not.
And the only reason I say this is because I know college applications get pretty expensive. So maybe that's something that could help them out. I don't know, but I know college applications are expensive.
Yeah.
So my motion is the legislation allows either or both of the following: the same stipend or elective credit for the time. That my recommendation would be that we authorize both.
Okay. And how do you both feel about it? Let's hear from you.
I mean, I'm not going to go against what the board wishes, I don't know.
Just get along.
I know, exactly. I feel like I got to go with it. But also, I would like to thank you guys because that's, it means a lot. I don't know.
Well, I'm not gonna turn down your offer by any means. And I do really appreciate you guys taking that into consideration for us. But,
I will share with the board, I mean, this literally got passed on an urgency basis in October. I believe we are one of the first districts to do this with our student trustees. Others are starting it as they get into the new calendar year, but yes, sir. Oh, yes, Rich, go ahead. You're on speaker.
Thank you. I'm curious, do the state list it or limit the credits that they get to one, or is that something? And the reason why I ask is because, the trustees, as a lot of people don't realize, there's a lot of work that goes into these meetings before the meetings. And I think that the equivalent of time that these student board members are putting in might be equal to more than just one credit, with the presentations they put in, with the work that they do with talking to the different students, to different campuses, and then preparing themselves by going through the agenda as well. I think it might be more than just one unit. So I didn't know if it was limited to one, or if we might want to make it to where it's equal to what a class might be per semester, just for discussion.
So under section F1 of the legislation, it is elective course credit based on the number of equivalent daily instructional minutes for the pupil members' services provided. I think we could say we will give the credit, and we can determine as we get into grading period and development, in April or May, you guys start tracking your time, right? So if it's more, but to me, it was at least one. I mean, but no, it's not capped. And I would certainly accept that as a friendly amendment, that we'll do both. We'll do the monthly financial compensation that we already received, that's already determined, and the elective credit to the extent that we can determine how many credits that will be. Is that acceptable? Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
That would be my revised motion then.
Great. I will second, and thank you, Bill. This was a great item to bring.
Yeah, that's good work. So this another roll call vote?
It's all of them because of Rich being on the phone.
Oh, I see.
Everybody, yeah.
Got it. That's why. Okay. All right. So can we, public comment. Any public comments? Nope. All right.
Edu Grace.
Yes.
Kayasi.
Yes.
Alan Lucas.
Yes.
Paul Kagorno. Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Why is it? All right, thank you. So I think now we can move on to 6.4, site scorecards. This is Brian Williams.
Well, good evening, President Lopez, Board of Trustees. I want to echo your sentiment about how great it is to have a wonderful team around you. And we have our wonderful team here. It's been lovely. We should maybe have them come every month. It's nice to have an audience. But I would like to start by bringing up our wonderful Patricia Chadwick from Maddie Washburn.
Thank you for this opportunity. Being my first year at Maddie Washburn, it has been exciting to get to know the needs of the school, to then better be able to meet the needs of everyone in the school community, all of our stakeholders. So I will say this site scorecard has actually been extremely helpful for me because I'm actually having to look at all of those encompassing stakeholders and members. So I'll start off by looking at the yellow section, are all students connected and thriving. As we go to our youngest learners in the district and we look at TK through second grade, it's important to note that we do not have Youth Truth Survey data for students that young. That is just the reality. And that is true across the county and anywhere else in the nation. So it really just makes us look at what are other ways that we can gather that feedback from our students, because they do have a voice and they do let us know what they need, even if it's in a different way from our older students. So one of the ways that we've done that is through discussing what a pulse check survey looks like for a 4-year-old through an 8-year-old. And maybe it's icons, maybe it's looking at pictures that they can speak to on this is how I feel, or this is how I feel in a classroom, this is how I feel on the playground, this is how I feel when I'm learning this topic or this subject matter. And the vehicle for that being our our JAGI leadership group, which is students that have, yes, we even have leadership for little ones, that they have a voice, and then also replicating that in classrooms over time. So looking forward to what that cycle of progress looks like as we get that going. Additionally, looking at attendance data just to see over time for trends and students getting to school, being at school, and how they feel when they are at school. The other piece to All Students Connected and Thriving, obviously, is through the lens of academics, student learning, and the instruction that they are receiving to help them meet their goals throughout their time at Maddie. The first lens we want to look at is literacy. There is something that I want to just touch on. I think it's very important to mention when we look at the data through RenStar, and that is the fact that there are 2 reading assessments available in RenStar. There is early literacy, which is traditionally used for kindergarten and first grade, sometimes second grade. And I say sometimes because that's important. Star reading is traditionally used for sometimes second grade, but definitely third grade and up, okay? The reason why that gets a little bit messy as we look at our data here, our baseline for this school year, and even looking back to last year, which was more of a pilot year, is that we are determining, we're seeing now the importance of picking a very hard starting point for when the star reading transition takes place for our students, so that we're measuring data in a way that's most meaningful. Part of that means that a second grader should most appropriately be, we now know this, taking the star reading assessment. We will be making that pivot looking to next school year, but at present, we will continue to track these measures and look for student progress and growth, knowing that there's a refining of what data matters most in which grade levels, okay? A huge piece of that is our Hegarty implementation and start, which our training kicked off yesterday. So it's getting off the ground, which is phonemic awareness. And that is identified actually looking back as far as last school year's results and data for students. Looking at also teacher feedback that we've received from curriculum and these supplements that we have available, and noting that phonemic awareness continues to rise to the top as a student need and also an area of focus for teachers where they feel more supplement is necessary and also more training is necessary. And this is why we are implementing Hegarty. Okay. When it comes to math, also looking at our RenStar data, it does require, again, more of the streamlining. Which data are we collecting and when? So for first and second grade, we do have STAR math data. Which is very much something that we will be looking to in progress monitoring or through progress monitoring. RenStar has a product called Freckle, which has seen definitely some success at other sites. However, at the moment, we're looking at a pilot. Before we adopt, we always pilot. So looking at what it has to offer, as well as looking to what other options there are for pilot as well. Okay. Lastly, we will be looking to add kindergarten so that we have RenStar math data as our true baseline looking to next year as well. Thank you. Next slide. As we look to staff, the items that we are really focusing on for staff to remain connected and thriving and to grow in that area is the PLC work that has begun this school year, has been incredibly powerful. And we're really only into the third, we just wrapped up the third session and training. And that means that our grade level leads, our leadership teams are actually learning what the intentional work of instructional leadership is, what that looks like. It's much more than just talking about school events or talking about larger school discussion items. It's what data are we looking at? how is it driving our instruction, and what pivots do we need to make, or what deepening of practices do we need to look at in order to help make students or help students be successful and make the gains that we're looking for in the other slide. That is also hinging hugely on our leadership meetings becoming more structured over time, grade level lead check-ins with myself and Dean of Students, and very much interested in looking at our staff engagement survey and youth truth survey data this year. Going into the last piece there for culture and creating a positive work environment, really looking to look for tangible moments to celebrate as a staff, to recognize achievement, to recognize successes, whether they be small, whether they be big. That is important, and staff has identified that that is something that they would like to see more of, built into leadership meetings, built into staff meetings, built into our PD sessions. So we are being very intentional about that this year as well. The last piece there for strong family, community, and school relationships is improved communication. The vehicle for that at the moment is definitely Parent Square, refining how it gets used, when it gets used. Parent feedback, family feedback continues to be, we want to hear from teachers, we want to hear from the school directly. So making sure that those that those notifications and that the information is reaching them when is most appropriate and important. And as well as looking at usage reports for Parent Square. Where are the pitfalls? How do we help families then access the information that's being sent out so that they have two-way communication, not one-way communication. And I look forward to sharing out our progress in all of these areas. Again, I am very proud of what we've accomplished in a short period of time, especially in terms of baseline data, but looking to really celebrate some successes over time.
All right, great. Are there any comments or questions?
Yeah, first, thank you for your presentation.
Yeah.
I have one concern, and you sort of hit on it. You're piloting Freckle, and please consider piloting other programs. I've had feedback on Freckle that it's maybe not the most engaging for kids. So just keep it in mind.
Absolutely.
That it's just a pilot, and please look into other, and that's for you too as well, Brian. Look into other programs for math.
Yes, and I can say that actually our grade level leads have echoed the same, that they are open, meaning open to seeing what's out there.
Okay.
If what was traditionally used was not meeting the needs of our students, then let's look to what best does that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, other comments or questions?
I think I'll hold off on most comments, but I just wanted to make one kind of more general comment because you don't come to our meetings all the time, so you don't know what we've kind of been focused on recently, but we've really been talking a lot about the data. And maybe you've been filled in, so you know, but it's an area where we're super interested and want to know as much as we can and be good partners with you and support in whatever way we can. So I just wanted to set that stage as you go through your presentations in case we have lots of data focused questions. You'll know where that's coming from.
Can I say one thing about the cadence as well? So this is our first year really kind of doing what we're doing, and it's taken some time to get off the ground. Ideally, we would have a lot of this work done in terms of our goals at the end of this year. So we can go into, or not the end fully, but over the summer. So we can go into the year knowing our goals, and we can provide some progress updates a little bit sooner than December. That's what we're trying to do. It's just been hard to get off the ground. It's a lot of work. I know it just looks like a couple things put in a box, but
No, that
it takes
does
a
look
lot
like
of
a lot
work
of
for these guys
I
to
can
work
vouch
with
for
their
that.
teams.
Lots of work.
Yeah. Yeah, I know this looks like a lot. I was wondering if you've, through this data, if you've been able to detect any patterns as far as students having challenges to reading and math.
Well, definitely the fact that there's a correlation between math achievement and any successes or challenges in rating. So for example, even the early literacy piece assessment has a very small numeracy piece to it, which is a predictor for when they do start taking the STAR math in kindergarten and beyond. So taking deeper dives into data, and yes, there's overall scores, but going into what are the focus skills, what are the standards that are attached to them, and that is what drives instruction. And having time for grade level teams or our PLTs to actually have that level of conversation about their data.
Okay, and then, thank you. And then the other question I had is, do you find that if students are needing more time, for example, to go over math or just more time in reading, do they have that extra like flexibility to just spend more time when they need it?
We do have already existing intervention programs for reading as well as ELD. I think math is definitely an area that we need to take a closer look at over time. How to offer what we're calling our tier 1 intervention as well as tier 2. So not just allowing for what happens in a classroom, but looking to when a student needs support beyond that or in addition to. But as far as reading and language development, what's already existing is just now refining based on what students are presenting that they need most. Part of that may become a press in model versus just a pull out model. Again, all data driven, but looking forward to that.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you. I'd like to invite up Annette to talk about Brooks Elementary.
Can't read your new titles.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, Madam Vice President, trustees, and cabinet. It is a pleasure to be here tonight and witness the change, the peaceful change of power. Wow, that makes me a happy woman. I'm here and happy to be here to highlight some of the exciting elements of the Brooks Elementary instructional scorecard. But first, I want to give you a heartfelt thank you for readmitting the student that you readmitted. He caught me in the parking lot, called me out by name. He was a student of mine when he was in the 5th grade. And I thought for a second, how do I have a little more influence? Because he said, "You're my favorite." And I was like, okay, then I've got some power here. So I did what good teachers do. One of the most effective strategies you can do is set a learning target. Be really clear about what you want from your kids. And so I told him, I won't say his name. Little man, I expect to see you doing your senior project at my school. He said, I was thinking about coming and visiting you, but I was afraid. And I said, I want you to come visit me and I want you to come back and I want you to do a senior project at my school, which means, Jeremy, I'll be here for 3 years. And you can set my retirement party for June 2026. And then I also wanted to say it's a big news. Yeah. Every year I go, I don't know. I'm in it to win it since we started the MTSS and PLC work. I am profoundly inspired by what is happening at Brooks Elementary right now. Paul, I want to say our talk was amazing, and I was subbing in a room yesterday. Just note that. I was subbing in a room yesterday because we needed it. And I was with a group of 5th graders in Ms. Wilson's class and noticed that they didn't know their 7s times tables. And I said, I'll be back next Wednesday. You must know your 7s. You have a week to get it done. So again, clear target. I don't care how you get there. Yeah, extra math. There's other ways in the 70s we did it in other ways. So I know it can be done, and I told them they needed to be ready for next year. But back to the scorecard. I'm not really an athlete, so the whole scorecard thing was a little, I needed to wrap my head around it. I was more of a bookworm as a kiddo. A lot of books, a lot of reading, including the book by Bill Walsh, The Score Will Take Care of Itself. I'm a native San Franciscan, and Bill Walsh demonstrated what it happens when you believe in yourself and you have confidence. And when you hit the mark, your confidence builds. And he showed us you can keep hitting your goal. And so I'm taking that as my inspiration around this whole scorecard thing. I have to say that I focus on the results and the process rather than the results. The process is what gets me excited, and the MTSS and PLC training that we've been doing for about a year and a half has been really inspiring. And excited to share with this amazing team of women this work around empowering teachers to look closely at what's going on with our learners and changing practice if we need to. So right now, as a site administrator for Brooks, I'm focused on one thing: evidence-based strategies for learning. One of the most effective or the most influential effects that we can cause student achievement is to cultivate collective teacher efficacy. In fact, it's number one. It's number one on the list, according to John Hattie's continuing meta-analysis of thousands of research studies. So that's my focus. Collective teacher efficacy is a shared belief of the teaching team that together they can do more positively to impact student learning of their students. It's a shift from I to we. We don't shut our doors anymore and do our teaching and then leave at 3:05. Our teaching teams are meeting once a week instead of once a month. It includes grade level teachers, special education teachers, the intervention teacher, the ELD teacher, all at the table looking at what is going on for kids. They're sharing their teaching practices, they're analyzing the learning, they're looking at the data, they're taking action collectively, strategically to cause learning. One example, this morning I got an email from my third grade teaching team who's been out researching, trying to figure out how are we going to address the gap in phonemic awareness and phonics for our students in third grade. 50% not reading at grade level. They went out and they observed in a classroom this week, a teacher implementing a program. They participated in Maddie Washburn's Heggerty training yesterday, and they sat down today as a team and they discussed both and sent me an email saying, this is the one we think will do it, Annette. Get us the materials, let's get trained, let's get some phonemic awareness phonics into the third grade classroom. This is new for them. They're not used to having to teach this to so many students at the third grade level, but they know it needs to be done. We're not going to pass them through. We're going to get it done. You'll see evidence of this commitment that I'm talking about in the strategies on my scorecard. I don't want to read them all to you. But the two that are really big are these weekly collaborative data-informed problem-solving meetings where they make decisions based on what is really happening on the ground, and then the release of them so that they can spend time as teams identifying their essential standards, checking to see where it is in their current scopes, making sure they're hitting what the kids really need, and it's having the time. And I just need to acknowledge our district admin team who trusts us as site admin and gave us a huge gift in effective educator dollars so that we could run with it. We're running, literally running. I told the third grade team, Do your research, get me your decision. January is when we start. And they hit the target. I tell them what the target is and they figure out how to get there because I trust them. They're the practitioners. So let me just say I have 100% confidence that we're going to get there. We have a committed teaching team and we have a really solid coordinated services team. And what that is, we meet twice a month and we've got 3 really critical lenses on kids. We've got the behavior lens coming through our Dean of Students. Thank you so much. That has been a game changer for me as a site administrator. I can now focus on instructional leadership because I have someone with an amazing background. I don't know how I got so lucky. Yes, I do. I gave her the top 10 reasons to come work for me. But she is my lens on and pays close attention to the behaviors. I have an academic genius in my intervention teacher. She looks at that lens. I have an amazing mental health professional in my counselor. So the 4 of us sit together twice a month and look at the data, look at the referrals, and address what's happening in our school. We have a strong structure happening right now. I don't want to mess with it. We're all really enthusiastic and inspired. And like Bill says, not this Bill, another Bill, Walsh. It all comes down to intelligently and relentlessly seeking the solutions that will increase your chance of prevailing. When you do that, the score will take care of itself. I'd like to invite you all to come and have a moment of community with the Brooks families and staff and kids on Friday morning at 9 a.m. We're doing a winter wonderland hot cocoa stroll where we'll view the art of the children all over the school. Sea Star is providing the hot cocoa, so it'll be a mild temperature, so it's safe for kids. You're all invited. What questions do you have?
When is that at, Mrs. Zucconi?
What's that? 9 a.m. on Friday. Next Friday. I forgot tomorrow's Friday. Next Friday. The last day before break.
All right, any comments or questions?
I do have a couple comments. I did hear a lot of highlighting. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I do have a couple comments. I did really appreciate how you were highlighting the 3rd graders because it is really important that that transitional phase from Maddie to that 3rd grade level. But I'm also looking at the 5th grade level, and there's only a 7% difference between the students that are at and above and the students that are at risk. And what I think is based on the conversation that Kai and I had with Miss West when we toured her campus, is there are some students coming into the middle school struggling. And as a student, you don't always know how to ask for the right resources. And as a parent, you don't always know that your kid is struggling and that your kid even needs the resources. And I really appreciate what you're saying about what you're implementing right now. And I see that in a couple years, those current 3rd graders are probably going to have a great support system set up for them. And that is amazing. But all I can see, I'm like tunnel visioned on these current 5th graders. Right. Because almost 40% of them are at risk. Yeah. And that is like, that's really worrisome for me because I have a younger sister in 6th grade. And if I was imagining her not knowing how to ask for support, that I'm looking at these kids being like, I don't know how to read, or I'm not reading where I'm supposed to be. And if there's so many of them and there is a staff shortage going on, how do we make sure that right now we are supporting them and making sure that they are going into the next school, at least knowing how to advocate to get up to a level that they're at?
100%. I really appreciate your thoughtfulness and your noticing. The 3rd grade was an example of one thing. Every grade level currently is identifying evidence-based strategies that they could and should be trying. And the 4th and 5th grade currently, just as one example, are working on considering a spelling program to support because they're noticing how impacted the writing is after so many years of distance learning. So that's just one area they're focused, but the 5th grade team and the 3rd grade team and the 4th all meet every week to sit down and talk about what needs to be done and looking at what's going on. And we're all really concerned. Of course, we're all really concerned, but thank you.
All right, any other comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask after our meeting, I don't think I asked you, now, based on the small incremental gains in the star for the second go around, have you thought about pivoting or changing, what curriculum you're using now or how you're using it? Because it seems like we're beating our head against the wall if we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. I know you're having these meetings and you're getting trained, but if we're still using the same not so great programs, I shared with you an example of a student who is being shown 3 different ways to multiply 2-digit numbers, and it's a way that it's halving and doubling. Anyone out there know about halving and doubling? You'll never use it in real life, ever. So why is that program doing it? I guess my point is finding things, doing it differently. Are you looking at anything new in
I
terms
think
of
for us, we want to go back to identifying what standards are essential to being taught, and then we cross-reference that with the curriculum. So there's been a lot of adjustments to, let's just talk about the math curriculum, because that's what we were coalescing around. That curriculum is so big, right? And it does ask the learner to go at problems at different angles. And the reason it's written like that is because research showed that not all students are going to be able to use the traditional algorithms that we all learned, that there were students who were successful with that, and there are students who have brains that work differently. But like you and I discussed, not everybody needs to learn every single angle. That seems cumbersome, so that can be reviewed, right? As a teacher, if I know what standards I'm teaching, and I know this lesson covers it, and I know my learners, then I can shape shift a little and say, well, this strategy may not be as important for this group. They seem to have strength in these 2 strategies. I think in the attempt to have all these different ways of looking at math available, the publishers created something very big. And it's difficult for the practitioner to determine, what do I cut where, until they know what's essential. And so our teams in the next 6 weeks will be releasing for the full day to look at what are the most essential, and then looking at their scope and sequence to say, are these all important?
I think that's probably wise. I've looked at Bridges. I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't say the name of it, but I guess people know what it is.
It's on the website.
And it is, it's the shotgun approach to math. That's the way I look at it. And when I've looked at all the modules and how, there doesn't seem to be rhyme or reason into how they're rolling out the topics. And it seems like we've had this program for a number of years with TOSAs and everything else. So it's really puzzling to me that we haven't figured it out yet. I mean, I still don't get it. I've talked to Brian about it. I've talked to you a little bit about it. I think it's almost better. You would almost be better off if you just looked at those standards, figured out what do they need to learn, and focus on that. And it doesn't really matter the box curriculum that you have, but really focus on what they need for the next grade level.
Right.
I mean,
and some teachers can function like that. I think we talked about that too. Some teachers can say, I'm a master of my standards, and some teachers need the structure and the support of a curriculum that's well-paced, well-written, and that is the value of having them meet as a group. because they can offer those supports to each other. Your more veteran teachers with the curriculum can offer to our less veteran of what is okay to cut and what is essential. So I agree with you. I think it needs some deep review, and that's what I hope to do as they take their list of essential standards and determine, does my curriculum support me in delivering this instruction effectively?
It's a huge job to do a curriculum map.
It is.
I know I went through it in Cloverdale with this man over here with Jeremy, and it's a huge undertaking, but the end result is you'll know where to find the things that you need to teach and the order to teach them. So I'm hoping that will be the direction we're moving.
Okay, thank you for your support.
Can I say one thing? Is it okay? So is it fair to say, Annette, I think a major component of these scorecards is we want to have a goal, obviously, right? We want to develop strategies. But the thing that's a little bit different is we're checking on whether our implemented strategies to improve these goals are actually working. And so, Annette, is it fair to say, I'm going to paraphrase for you, that you went through, you looked at, let's just say, the lack of progress on our rent store for language arts, and and you're recalibrating. And is that what has caused you to say, let's unpack these a little bit more? Is that what kind of pushed you that way?
Yeah, I think I need, the last time we looked at standards and determined essential was during distance learning, because we needed to figure out what's the most important thing to try to deliver. And it's been 3 years and they need review. So we're revisiting them. There's also new people on these teams who need to really deeply dig into the standards at their grade level. So yeah, thank you for supporting me on that one.
If I may add one more thing.
So one more comment?
Okay.
I like listening about your teacher groups, your teacher meetings, and how you have the grade level and the all together and things like that. What about the students? Like, I think Kai and I being able to advocate is really beneficial, but we're only 2 student perspectives for the whole district. And I don't even think, no disrespect, that we always are able to do the best job at advocating, even for the one school that we do go to. And are there meetings or even availability for the students to be like, hey, this is where I'm struggling? And this may sound redundant to you because I'm not present in your meetings. Maybe this is something that you've discussed, but maybe you get together the 3rd graders and be like, how did you guys feel about this test? What were the hardest things for you on this test? What was something that you felt the most confident in? Do you feel like you actually learned this? Do you feel like your teachers are going to help you learn this? Because with the all students connected and thriving, this is like a whole thing. If a student doesn't feel like they are going to learn or that they have the capability to learn, they are not going to want to apply themselves to the skills that they are set out to learn.
Absolutely.
And so I think,
do you want to come be a teacher at my school? Yeah, I think that I love that, and I'm going to bring that exactly back to my my student council, the teachers who run student council. We have representatives from every classroom that serve on student council, and have them consider some ways of getting additional student voice on the academic pieces. Right now, we're doing a lot of soliciting of their interests for school events and assemblies and things like that. But some of those questions you posed, I think would be really important. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
I would love to help be a part of that. If
I would
you are
love
open to
that,
it.
Meadow.
I just want to echo that. I think what you just said, Meadow, is so important because some time ago, I was sharing with Ms. Buckman that in my own classroom at Sonoma State, I sometimes have a handful of students that are failing. And what I like to do is I pull them to the side and I just ask them point blank, what in my classroom is not working for you, because you're failing. And the answers that come back most of the time are because something's happening at home.
Right.
And then once we're able to figure out that that is the issue, then we make a plan for how they can come back and pass the class. So I do think sometimes it is important to give students that little bit of extra time so that they can articulate what is not working for you and then get them back on track.
Yeah.
I love that idea, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we do need to move along. And we have other reports as well. Thank
All right,
you.
I would like to invite up Lydia to tell you about Cali and what's going on there.
Here we go. Well, thank you. Good evening. I just want to say thank you to Windsor, the whole crew, for this challenging but exceptional and powerful work that we are doing in this district. As I started in August with my whole staff, I told them this is not an initiative because I was seeing all the faces and body language. You can feel it. And I said, this is not an initiative. This is the work. And this is the work forever. And that seemed to change minds, and we are right now in a momentum really in Cali, and it's an honor for me to be the leader there doing this work that I actually was part of during my career as a teacher in Texas. I went through this as a teacher. So now I am leading this as an administrator, which is completely different. So at Cali, when we presented, I brought all the data, baseline data, at the beginning of the year, together with Youth Truth results, and I was bringing them back to the academics, right, the instruction. Leaders at the school and teachers stopped me right there and said, okay, have you looked at the data that is right under, so the green one, where it's talking about staff, engaged staff, feeling that Cali is a positive place to be at, that we are being heard, that we have a true two-way communication. And we look at those numbers from last year and previous years to coming back from COVID, et cetera, where the numbers, you see, I put them right in red, 57% and 56%. That was shocking. And they stopped me right there, and I thank them so much, because without the building the culture in the school and building, I want to be here and I want to do this in collaboration, doesn't matter looking at academics or looking at the instructional part. So for us, during these 4 or 5 months together with a new leader, with new teams, with new staff joining Cali, has been our big focus on it. Two big things happening in here have been the shifting practices in our teams and shifting minds during these 5 months, where we have been building leaders of leaders at Cali and building that capacity among our staff. That has been powerful, impactful all across. Impactful towards our students, our families, and our data academically talking. So that has been a big change, and that is also because of the work through PLC, that shifting mind. Our leadership teams, we shift them. I shift them this year, where and being also an administrator at Cali and being there for several years, I noticed that those leadership meetings were a place to probably talk about complaining or talking about what was happening the custodian level. I'm being honest right now here, if it's okay. And then I was like, no, we need to change this. We are here. This is a very valuable time. We need to talk about the student learning, not teaching for the kids, but the learning what they want. We are here to talk about data. We are here to talk about what's happening and make decisions together and action plans. So that has been a powerful change, going through reading articles together, discussions, and empowering each one of those teams. And if you see, I've been doing through the year pulse checks, and then the last survey that we threw in there, our goal was 70%. We are at 91 in one of the areas and 94. Now, is that, or does it mean that, it's all done? We are done. No, we are not. No, we are not. What this is telling me and telling us is that the staff, the school is in momentum, and they have seen the change of all the teams together working, and I appreciate that a lot. I'm moving to the student part, and the other area that we have focused has been students feeling part of the school, feeling part of the community. So we have our goal being at 50%. And there are 2 data points that we collected. One of them was through a program, social emotional program, where we collected data. It's called Zone to Grow. We can monitor how the students are feeling, what are their problems, what they need help with. And at the beginning, we were in a 35% at the beginning of the year, where our teachers were not looking at probably the data that needed to be looked at and acting upon it. Towards now, in December, moving up to a 79%, where the school, the teachers are looking at that data, responding to our students. So that has been a big, big win at the school. The same thing as the behavioral tracking system that we created at Cali, where we are being proactive instead of reacting towards the challenges that we have. We have in all the schools, but this way we can act upon it. We can meet with the students, and we can help them navigate ways to work with each other and help solve the problem as well. And important too is developing the students as leaders at Cali as well. That has been very impactful, as you have seen with the 3 kids that have come in here, and they have shared all these great things that we are doing. Regarding the, we are working with a school. We got a grant from them to bring into Cali, starting in January, the Safe School Ambassadors. Probably you know about the program because we have had that before. And that's going to be even more impactful with the culture with the students at Cali as well. And then moving to, the students also, we did several pulse checks, and the last survey that we had this past week, we are moving that needle from a 62% of connectivity to a 68%. It's not that big of a jump, but it's a jump. The kids are noticing too the changes. So I'm really thrilled to see what we are doing for the following months as well. And then regarding academics, I'm kind of summarizing 3 schools in one. So I'm trying to go quick in here. But basically in Spanish and in English, our goal is 55%. We are moving towards that goal, especially in Spanish. We have to take into account that this is a dual program and our students are, and the data shows stronger in Spanish than they are in English. So 54% in both windows, and then 35 moving to 37. So there is a moving of needle right there in English. We do notice too that the students at risk in English decreases as they move higher in grade as well. So it goes also with the program that we are having at Cali. So it goes together. Third grade, if you see at the data, it's a critical year especially with English. We do have a big percentage of them that is still struggling, which is normal. It's their first year, really, that they are facing a new language. So at that point, they are using their mother language, could be the Spanish, and making that transfer into the new language that they are learning. But then as they are moving up in grades, their English gets much better in there. And then, so we are moving towards the CASP data for the state assessment. And then in math, our goal is 40%. We do have some work to do. This is very interesting because when you go to so in Cali, math is taught in Spanish all the way up to 7th grade. 7th and 8th is taught in English. And the data right now is showing how our kids are even going over that 40% with 67 from window 1 to a 71. So it's passing already the state. In Spanish, but when they move to that 7th grade and 8th grade, that group of students that are at risk in the math area that is taught or it is being taught in English, it goes higher. So that has been actually a conversation today in our leadership meeting with the team. And it's kind of a question in there. So now what? What do we do with this? Having all this data, all this focus of the scorecard, which has been a challenge to bring it up, and we have talked about this, but it's great. I mean, it's awesome, and it has created that communication at my school to really get the emotions out of there, and then using these to guide our conversations. Very powerful. Big ladder strategies academically have been really powerful too. We started with that 2 years ago. Last year was a big year with the big lab. We continue with it in the classes. And the vertical articulation when we meet with our team meetings and the push-in model that we do have at Cali, it helps, or it has been helping a lot. The work that we are doing, I'm so happy and thrilled with all the collaboration that we have been having with Mari, with Jessica, TK, and Kinder to work on that vertical articulation at the low levels, because that's where the problem starts, right there. So I have a lot to say, but in 5 minutes, I was like, I want to say how many awesome things we have been doing in just a short period of time, and 5 minutes is not enough.
Or maybe you can come back to a future meeting and tell us more.
Okay, there we go. So, but thank you. I'm thrilled. I'm loving it. It's a hard work, but it's paying back, and I'm sure that it's gonna pay back as the years go by all across with all the schools. I mean, this is not a work that we do see in just 1 year. And I lived it as a teacher for 10 years. They told me, they took my book, Teaching Spanish and German, and they told me, get it out. You are part of the curriculum committee, and you're working with us in the creation of a curriculum based on the standards. And here we go, PLTs, PLC, and all these. And oh my God, it changed my practice as a teacher in the class too, completely. Now my kids were learning not So as a teacher, I was not going in there with a list of vocabulary words in Spanish or in German and telling them, okay, you need to memorize this. No, instead, my kids were part of the learning, and I was asking them, okay, this unit, we need to learn about traveling. What do you want to learn if you take a flight, for example, to Spain? What do you want to learn? Tell me. So they were telling me, we want to know how to catch a train or the subway. So based on that, I created my lessons. I brought those lessons to them, and they were engaged in the learning that they wanted to really accomplish. And the assessments were completely a different story too. There were assessments where they were performing and showing me what they knew about their learning. Each one of their journals have different words, different vocabulary words, because those were their words that were meaningful for them, for their situations that they were living. That's the way they were using the language. And I'm talking about high schoolers. I'm not even talking about elementary kids, high schoolers, seniors doing AP language. I was an AP literature and language teacher. And we were, so going back, Paul, to you, sorry. You kept saying, I'm on fire right now. No, but just want to say, you kept saying programs. And with all my respect, it's not really the programs. It is not the programs. It's what we do as teachers in the class with what my other colleagues have said about the standards and about getting to know our kids, about the connections, and having that backward design in your mind, knowing where your kids are going and you holding their hands and getting them there. No program is going to do that.
I really second that. Thank you.
Well, wait a minute. I hope you didn't misunderstand me. I was not promoting. No, I think you misunderstood me, Betty. I was not promoting any program. In fact, I said, correct me if I'm wrong, I said no program is the greatest. The greatest thing is to know the standards and know where you're going, how you get there. But the other point is you have to understand that some teachers need something, right? I mean, because not everybody can just make their own curriculum.
No.
I mean, I think that's probably the best way. But please do not misunderstand.
Okay.
I'm not
I
promoting any program.
misunderstand you.
Okay.
A language barrier.
Okay. Well, you can, yeah, works for me. That works for me.
Well, apologies.
So unless there's any other comments, I do think we need to move on because we still have a few more presentations. So, but thank you so much.
Thank
that
you
was
very
really
much.
well done.
All right. It's not too late to hit the 5 minutes. Like we can still.
Wow, I'm not quite
You guys
sure
are doing
how
great. Don't
I
listen to that.
am
Keep
going
going.
to follow that. Hello, everybody. Rich in a box, you still there? Kai, I have to tell you, the kids were wondering if you were a new student teacher. Kai's been hanging out at the middle school, and we were walking around today, and one of the kids came into my office, they're like, is that a new student teacher? I'm like, no, that's one of our school board trustees. Yeah, no, Kai's been hanging around. It's been nice to have him. So I am going to I really appreciate the scorecard. It really gives us focus, and it gave me focus as a site leader at Windsor Middle School. And so I'm just going to go straight down the list. Looking at our students are connected and thriving. And we went with the Youth Truth Survey, and that's what I'm sharing with our staff and all of our stakeholders any chance I get. It's sad that our baseline data is 40% that feel connected and thriving. When you're on our campus, it feels like a lot more, but the data is what shows. Our goal is 50%. I still think that's low. I'd like to see a higher number than that. The kids, we're doing a lot with Youth Truth, and a lot of our presentation, or my presentation today, is that students
feel positive and connected to their community and their learning. If they feel like they're having success and their grades are good and they're happy, I think that that's low-hanging fruit for test scores to improve. There wasn't really a culture around Windsor Middle School on taking the test or RINSTAR. When I walked into this role, there was a lot of pushback. The test didn't matter. We weren't talking about the test. The test was given to the kids and they sat there and went, oh, we have to do this. So we're really trying this year to build a culture of, we are trying to see where you're at. And I'm doing that with the teachers and our parents and our students. But back to the kids, feeling connected. Our leadership team is just amazing this year. And the kids, we had some goals around increasing rallies. We went from 0 and we've had 1 and we have 1 on Monday. The student pulse check surveys, we have such a great staff at Windsor Middle School. We're lots of trusted adults out there that do intentional rounding, and we do pulse checks with kids. We've pulled different kids in for focus groups. And we're also with the Youth Truth Survey, we're sending out pulse checks with the Youth Truth Survey questions, but we use faces to show the kids what 0 to 5 means. So a sad face all the way up to a smiley face, just to get an idea, because do you feel safe at your school? Well, that could mean a lot of different things. So we're going over the test with them, and we send pulse check surveys to see where they're at right now. We do that through their email, and that's been fun. We have our wellness center this year. We've had over 700 visits to the wellness center. I'm having that tracked. And our attendance, we are the best attendance in the school at 96.7. We are. But so we're going to try to improve that. So that's really positive, but yeah, there's room for growth, I guess. Sorry, guys. So moving on for our test, we're looking at academics through the lens of our CASP scores. So last year on ELA, 40%. We're trying to get, and what does that say? Does that say 43.0?
05.
Oh, so you want me to do it like this, Brian? Okay, so. How about this? Yeah, at least Rich can't tell what's happening. So we're utilizing our RINSTAR data to provide targeted intervention to increase scores. Our teachers we're started at the student level. We are incentivizing scores. When kids have increased their scores on RINSTAR, that we gave out rewards, and that's seemed really positive for those guys. We're making it available to our parents through math classes, assigned homework, to try to get parents on so they could see the scores. We printed off all of the RINSTAR score results to try to engage them, and we had data talks with the kids, and the kids had the homework assignment to get their parent logged on so they could actually access the RINSTAR scores and talk with their kids about it. We brought it up at coffee with the principal, school site council, boosters, our ELAC meetings, wherever we could, that we are promoting that we take this serious, and we're looking forward to seeing some growth. With that, with our RINSTAR scores, you can see the window. We did make growth from 51 to 54. Working towards our goal. We are using, I have to give a shout out to my assistant principal. Hi, Sarah. She broke down all of our CASP scores, included the windows where they're at, and we're targeting kids that might have done better on their RINSTAR than they did on their CASP. So we can work with those kids, target them a little bit to move them over into at grade level. You can see 6th, 7th, and 8th grade up there. I don't need to go over that. But I think the biggest thing is, as a staff, we're talking about the RINSTAR data. We're looking at our essential standards, what we need to work on to increase these scores, and that's been really powerful. The other big thing is that the scores, these aren't English and math scores. These are Windsor Middle School scores. We're going to come up with a whole new testing schedule for the CASP, where all the teachers are broken up and they get teams of students, and they will be testing those students in RINSTAR, the next window in February. Our ELA, or the reading of the RINSTAR, we're going to be taking it in social science instead of reading to kind of spread that out. And then our math, when they take that window in February, we're going to be taking the math in science. I really, there's a lot of pressure on these two sections, and I'm like, nope, it's everybody's scores. So that's one of the things we're doing there. Yeah, okay, sorry, it's up my cue. As a brand new principal, I asked my leadership team, all staff is connected and thriving. What do we need to do, guys? And they said, manage the school effectively. Only 34% of the staff felt like the school was managed effectively last year. So they said, we want 70%. So I said, okay, you got it. What are we going to do? For me, improving communication with my staff, making sure that we're transparent on what we need to do and where we need to go. That's that's always an area for me, I'm learning along the way. Sometimes I think people can read my mind and they can't. So I'm working on that. We started off, I took a team to Avid. We had 8 teachers, and we really focused on building a positive climate and culture for our staff. And we talked about that we were all in these little rowboats, and everybody wanted to be on the cruise ship in one direction. And we had a really powerful PD day at Rodney Strong. They hosted us, and we worked on a brand new mission statement, and we got us going all in the right direction in terms of positive culture. And we really take the time to celebrate each other. Staff input on our professional development, that's been huge. I rounded with almost every certificated and classified staff member. And I have to say that has been the most powerful thing. So thank you for bringing that to us. Having a one-on-one with every single staff member in my school has been awesome. We developed a new department tracker for our new department lead teams, our leadership teams, Brian, sorry. And our leadership team goes out to their departments, and then they take notes and make sure if anything wasn't brought up in a staff meeting that they give me back the notes, and then I have that two-way conversation so nobody goes unheard. I'm doing pulse checks with with our staff and the social contracts in every room. That's something we came up with because part of the positive culture for staff was our students. So expectations for teachers and students in every room. That's been interesting. I think we probably need to revisit that one. And just recognizing and having fun and looking for the bright spots every chance that we get to celebrate each other. We do it every month. We have a classified and a certificated Jaguar Rockstar. So we do that at staff meetings. Parents and families, communication and feedback. We decided to focus on, I receive regular feedback on my child's progress. Only 62% of our families felt that was happening. Our goal is 70%. And the biggest strategy, we need to improve communication for families. Parent Square, we're having a lot of success with Parent Square. We have 99.9% of our families signed up, that they're contactable. I'm only missing, out of 772 students, 771 of my parents are signed up. So we're getting communication out there. I really want to thank my front office for making, because we had a list and I was like, I want to get to 100%. And they kept calling. And the last family is like, I've told you I need to opt out. I'm like, okay, fine. I won't get 100. 99.9. And I'm monitoring Parent Square. I want to see how can I track if we're actually, I asked my staff to communicate with families and communicate, not notify, right? It needs to be reciprocal, two-way conversation. If I send a newsletter out, I'm sending out information, but I'm not actually communicating. I want to hear back, and I want my teachers to hear back from parents. So we're having a conversation. Parent Square is cool because you can send a text. So it's like an email, but it goes as a text. So a lot of parents are responding to that. Right now, I have 1,632 active threads with my teachers and parents. So, and we're also tracking communication in Aries with a call log, and really pushing hard, even giving staff time. Please make calls. Call home, engage the parents, engage them on RenStar, engage them on grades, engage them how things are going. We're doing parent surveys in our ELAC. Oh my gosh, in talking about bringing in new families. We didn't have any participation last year. We had 60 people show up to our first ELAC meeting, and we just had another ELAC meeting last week, and we had 38 families or 38 people. And it's just giving feedback about child's progress. That's just another avenue that's been great. And I have to say, Coffee with the Principal has been awesome. And we have a new boosters group, right, Austin? That's right. Our school site council. It's just, we're really working hard to make sure that we're building a community and that everybody feels like they are getting feedback about their child at Windsor Middle School. And you bounced around, but Stephanie, you did land in a good spot. Windsor Middle School is getting tossed around a little bit, but you can ask Bill, how's lunch? Yeah.
They did not take that.
They did not, Bill.
All right.
Okay.
Any comments?
All right, I'd like to invite up Heather to talk about North Bay Met Academy.
I was gonna call Ms. West back. I had a couple things I wanted to say. I'm sorry.
I'd like to call back up
I
Ms. West.
apologize. So first off, I'm a little jealous. Your school sounds really cool. Guys basically are an official student trustee liaison for your school.
Well, but you came once.
I did come and it was amazing. But I think Kai is more well equipped with all the extracurriculars and activities you guys have going on at your school. But I did have a couple questions. And what's one thing, first off, I want to make another comment. Sorry. I know you guys want to get through things. But I'm really happy to hear just how excited you get about the growth of your school and your community. Because I know everyone is excited about their school, but as you're newer in the position, not that I really have as much experience of seeing how it's been as the other board members may have, but as knowing you're newer in the position and you just came in and you're coming in full force and just very excited to see the growth already happening in your school is really cool to hear, because that's the growing community of the town, and it's just really wonderful.
Thanks.
And then I was with your regular check-ins with the staff and the students, and what did she call them?
Rounding.
Your rounding. Are you seeing an uphill slope with that?
Well,
actively, or?
So what it does is there's intentional questions where that it just making a conscious effort to sit down with every staff member and check in on what's working for them, who inspires them, and where can I support. So what it really did was peel back layers that I didn't know. From a para that's telling me, hey, a paraeducator in a classroom, it would really be neat if I had the accommodations for certain children. I could support them more. Or a teacher saying, I would really like to attend a PD, but meeting with every person and having that, building a relationship, and also figuring out how I can best support everyone on the staff.
That's awesome. And then I have one more thing. Are you seeing that the in-class engagement and academic scores are reflecting your RenStar and CASP test scores? Or are you seeing a disconnect in the state test and your regular curriculum work?
Well, you know what? The disconnect, CASP has different colors than RenStar, and that drives me nuts. But that's the biggest disconnect I see. I feel like this is the last year when I got here as an assistant principal, I didn't feel like there was a culture that the kids were excited, I think I'm starting, yes, because when we passed out incentives for any growth that they made, they didn't have to change color. They just needed to make growth, and we printed out their reports and we went over it with them. I mean, they were like lining up, and they were so excited that they made growth that they're excited about February, so when they can try hard on the exam. And I think, and watching the last board meeting when you were talking about your fourth grade class being excited, I'm seeing little flickers of that. And then with my parents, I'm hearing more like, oh, yeah, we're not going to go out of town. We have the RINSTAR testing. I didn't hear any of that last year, you know, or so I don't have any data on that, but I think there's a little spark that I'm super excited about. So I can't wait for the cast this year. It's going to be like the Super Bowl at Windsor Middle. That's all I'm saying. We're fired up.
Have a cast rally.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's at the end.
I'll just remind Austin that he questioned how candy bars were going to raise student achievement when we submitted that reimbursement. And
wait, are you just calling me out right now about my candy bars? Yeah, wait till you see our scores, Mr. Williams.
All right.
Okay, now we'd like to invite up Heather to talk about big picture learning at North Bay Met Academy.
All right, so I am really going to try and keep this brief because, you know, it's getting late. I want to start off by saying something that speaks to something that Malinali mentioned earlier this evening about women in leadership positions. And one of the things you learn when you're working in education, just by observation, and something that they talk about in administrative programs, is that there are way more female teachers and there are way more men in administration. But look at this team. Look at this team. And every time I get together with these women doing the work, I'm inspired. I'm inspired by them tonight. And just listening to them, I'm learning things. I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that. Oh, there's something I'm going to do. Okay. So thank you for bringing that and bringing your passions to the work that we're doing here. We do things a little bit differently at North Bay Met. And so I'm going to hit on just a couple of the things here. So if you look at our Youth Truth Survey results, generally we score very high, especially in areas of relationship. One of the areas that we're a little bit low is in feeling like a part of my school's community. And for us, that's surprising to see that 40-50%, because relationships is really the foundation of what we are doing in North Bay Met. And it's kind of surprising. So I did a pulse check with the students, and the students who say that they're not connected to the community, it's actually just because they don't like their peers. It's not because they don't like the school, but it's the kids. And so it's like, okay, so we're going to work on that. And it's funny, I rounded with Meadow yesterday, and we found out that we're asking a lot of the same questions. So I'm actually going to rely on her and look at some of her data that she's going to bring to me. And she's going to help pull out the data from North Bay Met that she's doing with Windsor High School and Windsor Oaks that she's working on with Kai. We're looking a lot at competency, and this is something that's kind of like the cutting edge of education. In big picture learning, there are 5 learning areas. There's communication, there's quantitative reasoning, social reasoning, empirical reasoning, and personal qualities. Now, there is something happening now called the International Big Picture Learning Credential, and it includes those 5 areas, but it also includes knowing how to learn. So we have 6 different areas that we evaluate students on, and in our scorecard, we're focusing on communication, quantitative reasoning, and personal qualities. When you're evaluating students on these different metrics, it really brings you down to a personal level. And when Bill was talking earlier about the change in the law and students getting credit for being on boards. That's something that we're already doing. Meadow is already earning credit for being on the board. She's earning communications credit. And I wish that was a live link there so that I could so you could see what the competencies are for communication, but I'm gonna have it here and I'm gonna go over a couple of the things that Meadow is doing by being on the board and how she's being evaluated. And she doesn't know this, but I'm also doing an LTI visit for her tonight because learning through interests or learning through internships is one of the major ways that students are learning in the real world. And so this is something that Meadow is doing. And so I'm actually going to turn in an evaluation to her advisor and say what I have observed and what I have heard from her fellow board members about what she's doing. So to give you an example here, again, I wish you could see what I'm seeing, but in communications competencies, what we're looking at are some major capabilities: designing communication, expressing meaning, connecting. And then it gets broken down to indicators. So choosing modes of communication, applying techniques, adapting communication, conveying meaning, using specialist language, constructing understanding through engagement, presenting ideas, and building networks. Now, if I were to evaluate, well, I'm just gonna evaluate Meadow out loud right now. So Meadow is using specialist language because she has to use, she talked about how she had to learn. She didn't know what you guys were talking about when she first came here, but she learned all the terms and the things that are applicable to working on a school board. And so I would say that she is conveying complex ideas using specialist language. And that's all the way at the top. So we're evaluating students on a scale of 1 to 5. She's at a 5. Yeah, and then, based on a comment that Stephanie made earlier about how you were communicating and analyzing information at this board conference that you went to, I would say you're even facilitating collective understanding through discussion. And that is also at a 5. And then by being on the board, having these discussions I just closed that. In the area of building networks, I would say you're enhancing connections to achieve shared goals because you've connected with everyone here. You're clearly making connections with administrators and students across campuses in this district. So I would give you, based on this LTI visit, I would give you a rating of a 5, that students at this level use a blend of tools to adapt their communication in order to deliver a compelling message that expands perspectives. And I'm doing this to kind of give you an understanding of what competencies are and how we evaluate students. So we're using the scorecard and we're going to do it through cycles. The last evaluation for this semester actually happens next week with exhibitions, but it's a cycle that happens continuously. And then the credential that I mentioned earlier actually is coming out of Australia, out of Big Picture Learning Australia. And they have developed this credential, which is another way of saying transcript. It's their language, not ours. And it is a way to, it is been made in conjunction with the University of Melbourne, and then it has spread across Australia. It has been piloted here in the United States for the past 3 years. And it is something that is going to be useful not only as a transcript, but also could be used as a resume for students because it takes what they're doing in the real world, not just the things that they're learning in school, but the things they're learning at internships, things they're learning at their jobs. And it's providing a holistic picture of all of these areas where students are learning. And I really believe, and based on conversations I've had recently with other people who are doing this work, that this is eventually going to have the cachet and the recognition of International Baccalaureate. In fact, in California right now, Big Picture is working with the University of San Diego. And they are, once we get an inroad and it's accepted in the UC system, that can spread out. So we're really looking, 5 years down the road where it's going to be something that is accepted in the UC system. So that's something that we're really working on and focusing on with our students. And then the last area I want to focus on is just the staff connection. And we have the benefit of being a very small, close-knit staff. And so, you know, the things that we do are really building that connection, and our connection shows through with the students, and they can feel it, and we really just feel like a family at our site. So, thank you. Any questions? I'm waiting for Meadows to put me on the spot, so.
You forgot to mention that not only do the teachers grade us on our competencies, but Heather does have us self-evaluate our competencies. So the every progress report, isn't it? Or is
Not
it
progress
quarterly?
report, that's too much.
No, it's quarterly then. Okay, well, that's a lot. Okay. Quarterly, we assess where we're at. And this year she has been changing it up, so we're not doing every single competency. We are doing like focuses based on what our focus for the whole school community is. And then the teachers then grade us on that and then like take into account where we feel like we're at and then meet us there.
Any comments?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, we are out of time. No.
I was gonna say, are we good? Are we good with the scorecards? Because we could just skip mine. We don't even need to go over it. I'll keep it short and sweet, I promise. When we started this scorecard process and Jeremy's telling us about it, in my head, I was like, oh my God, Jeremy, I'm a brand new principal. What are you asking of me? But on the outside, I was like, yes, scorecards, let's do this, I'm in. But I took it as an opportunity to connect with my staff and to connect with our stakeholders and really have them help me guide the creation of this, because ultimately this is going to be our plan for the next 3 years or beyond. And, I've made it really clear that I don't plan to go anywhere for a while. I want our staff to know that they have somebody that wants to be with them for a while and stick this out. So I felt like it was important that they were a part of the creation of this and the goals and what we wanted to focus on. So in terms of all students connected and thriving, my teacher expectations make me want to do my best. Ultimately, we all know that students learn when they have relationships and they feel like they're valued, right? That's where it comes from. And they learn when they know that their teacher thinks that they can do well and that they can achieve at high levels. And so really what this is all about is getting back to building those relationships and building that consistency across our campus and getting that student voice involved in what does that look like, so having my students help create those pulse checks and getting that feedback from them and hearing what they want us to hear, not just what we want to hear. So that's an important piece in this category for us. And, we want to see fewer tardies and we want to see fewer cuts. And again, all of that's going to come from building those strong relationships. So also incorporating that in our PD that's coming up and revisiting that. I feel like a little bit of it's been lost since COVID, right? We kind of forgot how to just make that one-on-one connection. As a former teacher, that was always important to me. That relationship was first and math was second. So I think if we can build that across the campus, we'll really see movement in that category. Moving on to RenStar, math and ELA. The high schools had a lot of tests, right? We've had EDMs, we had iReady, we've had Berkeley Readiness. I mean, we've had a lot of them. So I think ultimately to see this data change, we have to shift that culture and we have to change it to a culture of data and not being afraid of that data and being open to it and seeing what are we really good at, what are we not good at, and how can we fix that? So, it's really easy to say we're going to have data chats and we're going to look at the data and it's going to drive instruction. But do our teachers know how to do that? So equipping them with that knowledge of how to move the mark and how to use RenStar to the best of their ability. We've used it in different ways. I've used it in terms of math placement and, having access to pre-math 1 and putting students there instead of putting them in math 1 where I know they're not set up for success. So I know how to use RenStar, but making sure that my staff knows how to use it is really going to help us move that mark. I'm going to keep going. And then the next piece that we have under Students Connected and Thriving is our college and career readiness indicators. So this is kind of where CASP lands for me, because remember that students at the high school only take it in the 11th grade, right? They don't get to take it every single year. So under that umbrella of college and career readiness, there's about 9 or 10 indicators. For us, the ones that we're really focusing on are those CASP scores, but also A through G completion. We're also looking at the CTE completion. There is the seal of biliteracy on there, and then also state and federal job programs are another piece of that umbrella in terms of college and career indicators. To give a quick shout out to Sherry Jacobs, she's our workability program coordinator, which falls under state and federal programs, and she's just doing a phenomenal job and helping us move the needle there. In terms of A through G completion and moving the mark on that, we've brought grade validation to summer school. So that's been a huge impact in helping students get back on track, not telling them it's okay, wait till your 11th or your 12th grade to make up that grade validation. No, we're starting right away in 9th grade. If you earn lower than a C in 9th grade, you're going to summer school, and I'm going to help you validate it. I'm going to get you back on track. We're not going to wait. So that's been a huge piece. In terms of CTE pathways, we're set up for success, and to really kind of blow that out of the water. I want to use our counselors in this new product that they're doing called Counselors on the Move, where they're just going to be popping into classrooms and really educating our students on what are the pathways that we offer and what can you get at the end of that pathway. So, for example, if we talk about Vineyard and you're in that culinary program, you're walking out of there with a food handler certificate, and you can go into the industry having that ability to just start right in the job force. And so we need to really celebrate what we have, and we need to market it. And our students need to understand from 9th grade, what can you do with this? And, what are your opportunities when you pick those pathways? The same thing with the seal of biliteracy. We need to start sooner and inform our students about what do you need to do to earn the seal of biliteracy. You don't necessarily have to take 3 years or 4 years of Spanish, but you could just go right into AP Spanish and you've qualified. So really being transparent about what it is that students need to do to hit these indicators. And again, start talking about it sooner rather than later. Keep going, Brian. We're moving through it. All staff are connected and thriving, so I feel empowered to play a meaningful role in the decision-making at my school. So a couple things that I've done is I've shifted our CPT calendar. I've taken back one of those meetings. We used to have core meetings, a leadership meeting, admin meeting, and department. There it is. I've taken our leadership meeting and I've moved it actually to the afternoon before department meetings. So what this does is it creates that continuous feedback loop. So staff can go to their department leads and they can express, here's my idea. Here's what I'm concerned about. Here's what, I'd like to see coming up at our next CPT, at our next PD. And then that leadership team, they can bring that to admin or vice versa. Leadership or admin can bring to the leadership team, hey, at your next department or your next core meeting, here's a good thing to focus on, and then they can bring it out. So that continuous feedback loop with staff, with leadership, and back onto admin, I think is really going to help us drive those decisions and help everybody feel like they're part of it, and it's not just me making that choice. And then finally, connections with our family and our community. This one I'm super excited about. We keep hearing loud and clear that we want to receive regular feedback about our child's progress. So something that we shifted to this year is I've limited us to one grading platform. We're only using Jupyter, so there's only one place that parents have to go to find out what their students are doing. And we're also going to be implementing trainings. How do you access Jupyter? What are you looking for in Jupyter? How do you manage those notifications and get, a little ping every time an assignment is missing? What does that look like? We've also started doing parent workshops. We held one a month and a half ago, and our library was packed, and we did it in Spanish and in English. And we were able to talk about the crazy A-day, B-day, rotating 4-block craziness that we have, that it takes some parents 4 years to figure out. But that was huge, and we had a ton of feedback from that. We've started doing monthly newsletters where I just share tips and tricks, how to talk to your kid about attendance and tardies, and, what does that look like? I've really leaned on site council. Give me some feedback
feedback. What do you want to hear from teachers? How do you want to hear from your teachers? And how do you want to connect with your teachers? So again, it's that feedback loop that we're opening up. But I've already really started receiving some good feedback from parents, and the newsletter was a hit. My coffee with the principal wasn't as much of a hit as Angela's. We're not going to talk about my attendance. It'll get better next time. But so far it's been awesome. And so I'm excited to see us grow. I flew through that. So any questions, I'm ready.
You did great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're doing such a wonderful job, because when I think about your job, I just think about how complex that school is, because it's so large, just the size of it and the diversity of the students. And I just can't imagine like the things that flash through your mind every day. But one of the things that I've been reflecting on is, because it is such a large school and it is so complex, it has so much structure. There's so many layers to it, from the clubs, to like student leadership, to all of the different requirements of A through G is a lot, even as a parent that I am of a high schooler, to just, conceptualize. And one of the things that I was thinking about is, what is our process at the high school? And I know that there's a lot to this answer, but the process for like when things don't go well, for the student, and the student is not doing well emotionally. I know that you have counseling. I know that you have different resources, but that is one thing that I'd really like for us to consider, keep having a conversation about and just refining, because I feel like that's where we lose some students that slip through the cracks when things don't go well, and maybe they don't have the parent support, then what? Like then how do we get them to feel part of community again?
Absolutely. Yeah. We last year we implemented in October, I believe, our CST team. We meet twice a month, and it's the counselors, our social emotional counselors, Melissa from attendance. I'm in attendance. Sometimes JP or the student advisors. It just depends. And essentially, we have a referral form that our teachers can jump onto and say, hey, this kiddo was doing really well, and then all of a sudden they've taken a dive. Can you look into this? And they'll let us know what interventions they've put in place, and then they send it to the team, and then we look at this kid holistically and we say, okay, what do we need to do in addition to what's already happening in the classroom? We need to check in with parents? Do we need to refer them to social emotional support? Do we need to connect them with a club? But it's been a good way to catch some of those kids before they slip, into the cracks, because the teachers are the eyes on the ground. They're seeing it day by day. And so having that process has really cued us into some kids that we might not necessarily have known were struggling.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I feel like Rich this meeting, if I may say.
Come on, Meadow, what do you got for me?
As I attend North Bay, I don't fully understand what goes on in your school community. And I was just like looking at the way this was, and the youth truth question. Can I fix it? It was like, my teacher's expectations make me want to do my best. And I feel as if for every student that could be perceived differently. Like maybe emotionally my teacher comes in to support me. So like, let's say me and Heather are having a fight. I'm gonna call on Heather. And so I come in, and like Heather pushing me to pass my English feels like an attack, just because I'm not so happy with her. And so like, seeing that, what are like other strategies that are able to analyze like where the kids are at emotionally on a regular basis? And also going into how you have the leadership students checking in with the staff members. What about the leadership students checking in with non-leadership students? Because I can't speak on behalf of the students in leadership, but the title does so a tad bit for them, where they are in that leadership position. And how do we make sure that the student voices who aren't always being put forward, or maybe too scared or don't have like the right way to articulate it, are being put out with the same force that the kids in leadership who have that resource are?
Well, I think you guys are helping with that, right? In the interviews that you're doing. So I love that. We talked about that. I'm excited to hear from that. If we kind of go back to your initial question, and I agree, that's, I think, something that we've had pushback with Truth is there can be so many interpretations of those questions. So something that we were doing, and it was actually one of our history teachers that had suggested it, is we're going to create our own WHS Youth Truth and really give teachers the opportunity to talk with their students about what does this question mean to you, and what do some of these other types of questions mean to you. We're not going to redo the whole thing. That'd be a lot. There's already enough testing. I don't need you guys to do any more. But because we want their interpretation and how they feel about it, we want you guys to put together this survey, and then we'll give those surveys out every 6 weeks or so to have that pulse check, but have the pulse check be on questions that our students came up with, because I think that's how we're really going to get the valuable feedback. And in terms of, having other student voices, I think our video bulletin has done a good job of that. That's something that I've communicated with those classes about. It's really easy to kind of get stuck on the leadership kids when they're in so much, not saying that's a negative thing, but, also ensuring that you're bringing in those other voices and you're including all of the clubs, and you're not just stuck on athletics, but you're also in the arts, and, just bringing in all of those voices that need to be heard. I think part of it is just being present on campus. I'm out of my office as much as I can be, and I encourage the other admin to do that as well. And it's having those check-ins. It's seeing that kid that's sitting there by themselves and saying like, "Hey, are you good? Like, did you get lunch? You didn't want to hang out with anybody today?" It's those little things that happen every day that get those voices heard, and make sure that they feel like they're part of this giant community that is WHS.
I really appreciate you saying like the kids sitting alone at lunch. That's something Jeremy mentioned when I was doing my interview, because that was me. I was that kid. And especially before I went over to North Bay. So that's why a lot of my questions are so centered on that, is because I've seen not only myself, but also my little siblings feel very weird, even though they're in an entirely different district. Just like understanding going through the school system and not knowing how to navigate it is so frustrating, and it's so hard not to want to give up, especially when you have such a big school and you have so many kids that are like, oh, well, if I'm already doing this, I don't need to go and ask about it because it's comfortable. And so I just want to make sure the kids aren't comfortable in an uncomfortable situation for their future.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Anything else?
Anything else?
Can I put a bow on this? You got some, Kai?
Really quickly, just because it's my school, just because I feel the need now.
You can share, Kai.
Yeah,
You can share. It could be our school.
Well, Meadow's been saying a lot, and I feel like she is filling in for Rich. No, but I think our high school has been working very well for the students who work well in the I don't want to say normal, but I think the very traditional way of doing things. And I think I want to commend everybody at the high school and yourself, right? This year and the wellness center and all the other things we're implementing, I think we're finally realizing more that there are other people who are being pushed out on the fringes a little bit. And I think we're doing a lot of work now to realize this is happening. And now how do we change this? How do we actually get these people back and figure out how to best serve them as well? So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Kai. All right.
All right.
One more comment.
Thank you all, principals. So
I'm sorry, I think Bill wants to say something.
Yeah. No. Thank you all. I do not think, it'll be up to Brian, that we need to have you come back for the cycle 2 reports. I would like to see these reports come to us with the cycle 2 column filled out though, because you've all taken the time to do it. I would just say particularly, and I wish his counterpart from CSEA was here for Jeff Hardy, we are holding your feet to the fire as our administrators. It starts with those over there and then it goes to you all. But it does get down to the classroom and the coaches and to deliver results. And we are now at Measures That Matter. And I kind of to Meadow's very heartfelt comments, if we're going to have responsibility and accountability, we need to have that authority and resources that come down to you too. And some of that, I think it really, Lydia, you helped with. How do you shift the culture if the culture wasn't talking about these things? So I wanted you all to know, and for all the folks that work at your sites, that we get that. This is 3+ years of, I know, sitting down all the time with Jeremy on this concept. Can we do this? And you are really putting this into play now. I get that it is challenging. I see that the needle is moving. And I would very much like you, when you're talking to your staffs and you certificated and classified staffs at all your sites, including like the custodians. I heard somebody mention JP at the intervention meeting. To have them understand that we get that this is change. We think this is change that is for the better. If they have inputs that they can pass to you, that you can pass to them, that they can pass to us, we want to know those. But the accountability and the results is really what we're looking for. If this process doesn't deliver it, we're happy to adjust a little bit, but we finally, I think, have put together a program that addresses some of the fundamental things that a school district and community needs to do for its children. We've never had that as coalesced. And before I was on the school board, I had about 10 more years that I had, 11 straight years at kids at Windsor High School. So I just wanted to say that because this is wonderful. And this is a huge amount of work for you guys to come in, and thank you for spending it. And there was hours and days, weeks and months that went into you coming to be able to give this to us. And thank you for that. And thank you to Brian and the team and Jeremy for the vision on it. He talked about these things with me and I looked at him and my eyes glazed over thinking, I like to think I'm visionary and I couldn't grasp what he was talking about. Right. And now I do. And you all are delivering that. So thank you very much for being where the boots are on the ground. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more comment. I think you were going to say something though, Brian. Were you going to say something about?
I was going to say that so this is phase 1 tomorrow. We're taking them off site and they're going to be turning in their scorecards. They wanted to get the board responses before they started on their school plans, but we are going to be cranking out the school plan. So I was actually going to tell them all to go home and get some rest because we have a big day tomorrow. But
Okay, last comment. I just wanted to touch on something that's kind of come up throughout the night, but first I wanted to say that this was great. Thank you. I know it's getting late, but thank you so much. And we're all like getting sleepy and like we don't look as fresh as we did when you started the presentation. But I'm speaking for myself, but this was really exciting. This is what's happening is really special. And I just want to acknowledge that. And we've had a couple kind of girl power moments tonight. So I just wanted to acknowledge that because everyone, we have a lot of new principals this year. I think all except for one, our veteran, Annette, are new, and you're all internal candidates. Like you were here before, right? You were here. Well, I guess you've been a principal too, so you just switcheroo. But I see it. What you said, Heather, about administrators tend to be male, teachers tend to be female. It just tells me that we're cultivating leaders within our district, and we happen to have a lot of female teachers, so it makes sense that we would have female leaders percolating up, and potentially, this table, eventually.
Absolutely.
So it's just really exciting to, not that you're going to get replaced, but to see that internal work being done where we're doing the work internally in our district and cultivating leaders internally and helping people grow and reach their capability professionally here. So that's really exciting. And, on the board too, we have a rotation where we rotate through leadership roles, and it just so happens that 2 women are, now leading the board. And it's kind of cool that on the night when that happened, you're also here. So just wanted to acknowledge that.
And thank you so much for saying that. Do you all think that we could get a picture before you go?
I was thinking we could do a picture too. Yeah. So I was thinking we could do that. And usually when I think women are able to come into leadership roles, it's a sign that they're working with pretty great guys too. So I wanted to acknowledge, I mean, it's true, like we have great people in our district. So I just want to acknowledge everyone because everyone here made it possible for this to be the reality. So thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
All right, well, let's get
Picture?
everybody up here so we can get a picture really
And
quick.
maybe a couple minute break to stand up.
And while we're getting our
good
picture, just to
stretching
remind you,
break.
we do have Heather, Deborah, and Allison and Jessica that also sit on cabinet.
Well, let's
And
all
they're all
get in
women, too.
there. It's all, and I think we need Jen because she's in charge. So- Yes. Yeah. Maybe we go.
Yeah, it's
I think it's just
Get in there, Meadow.
All right. Bunch of these. Heather, your family is texting saying, "Where are you? Where are you?"
Good job, guys. Well done.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah.
They did.
No, I mean, we try to like, it's not supposed to be insensitive. I know, I was like, I hope this doesn't seem insensitive.
No, not at all. Not for me.
I know.
Sorry for today.
School.
I didn't bring any. You realize it's 9 o'clock at night.
I do.
Yeah,
I'll
you can
roll
just stay
through.
up there.
And I covered the federal program monitoring a little bit at the last closed session that we had. Federal program monitoring is something that some districts get on occasion, and we were lucky enough to be monitored last year. And when we put forth all of our information, there was one small piece of the universal complaint procedure which was not thorough. So they came back and asked me to replace it, which I did, but that process extended into the new year. And when you roll into the new year, they establish new guidelines. And if you don't update, especially if you still have that same group of program monitors monitoring you, they say, well, now it's totally out of compliance. So we had to rewrite the entire thing, which we've done. I've confirmed with the CTC that I've used the proper forms. We have it in both English and Spanish, and now it's done. And I'm submitting it to you for your approval.
The joy of government audits.
So awesome. So awesome. I felt useful when I did this. My time was well spent.
Are there any comments or questions
Questions on
this?
that?
For him? No?
Okay. And then I believe the next one is a PIP.
I think you have to vote on that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All right, and this is a roll call.
Meadow Graves.
Yes.
Kayasi.
Yes.
Malinoli Lopez.
Yes.
Paul Cagorno.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
And Rich Carnation.
He's still there. Yeah.
Yes.
Meadow really
Thank
is
you.
replacing Rich.
All right. And then if you just want to stay up there for 6.6.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is just confirmation of another provisional interim permit. It's actually a repeat. So occasionally we have these retreads because we have submitted once again with some form of information that is not precise. And so Maddie Pellman is she is a first grade teacher at Cali Calmeca, and she is on a provisional interim permit. And when I submitted her paperwork initially, I submitted as Maddie because she goes by Maddie. All of her paperwork with us is submitted by Maddie. She is Maddie in our system, but her name is Madison. And so when CTC said that, they sent all of it back. So I have to resubmit it again. So I am resubmitting it for your approval one more time so I can say that we've done it, resubmit it to the CTC so they can confirm that she is indeed on a provisional interim permit.
All right. Any questions?
Yeah. I don't have any questions.
I'll move to approve.
All right, is there a second?
Ah.
All right, and roll call?
I don't know. I think I said it first.
Yes, Rochambeau.
Meadow.
Yes.
Kay.
Yes.
Malinoli.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Rich.
Yes.
And Bill.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
One more vote coming up.
All right, thank you. So next up is item 6.7, first interim financial report with Austin.
All right. I feel like tonight kind of turned into a little bit of a theme where people are waving at people online. And what Jeff doesn't know is I've been emailing Diane back and forth. I told Diane I'd say hi to her. So hi, Diane. So this is first interim, 23-24. Diving right in, usually I have in these presentations, I have a big thing where I update you guys on what's going on at the state. And I know that you guys have probably been getting the emails that states having a huge deficit that they're facing. I wanted to explain kind of what's going on, because usually at first interim, we're in a time where I can't really update you on the state. Usually we get a proposal in January, tax revenue is coming in April, and then in May, we get a very clear outlook for the next year. Well, and we touched upon it, because they pushed off those tax revenues from April to then September and then October again, they didn't know they didn't have a clear expectation of what revenues were going to be. So that deficit that you guys are seeing in all of the reports that are coming out, that's actually for last year. So they projected to be relatively balanced for last year, and tax receipts ended up coming in extremely deficit. The reason I bring that up is because one of the slides I do want to go over is one of the things that it did affect this budget. So if you look at our budget this year, unrestricted it's very stable on the revenue side. The restricted revenues fluctuated a little bit. And if you look, it mainly is based off of that. So the 21-22 enacted budget, that was 2 years ago, what they enacted. And then last year, we talked about in January, they were going to cut certain things a little bit. Then in May, they revised how much they were going to cut it. And then they ended up enacting it totally different. So in this budget, we currently have some of that money that ended up not being cut that we originally thought was going to be cut back in June. And then now we're kind of looking at the state outlook going, well, is that money actually not going to, so we're doing this whole flip-flopping thing right now. So what I want to remind everyone is that a budget is a snapshot in time. And it's always important to kind of separate that unrestricted from the restricted side, because those restricted are going to ebb and flow with the state revenues. As the state gets more money, we're going to get more one-time money. But the one thing that's going to usually stay stable is that unrestricted side of the budget. So looking at the assumptions of this budget, I do also know that there are some rumors / I've also gotten an update that the cost of living adjustment is going to be a lot lower for next year. So you look at 23-24 at 8.22, and then you look at 25-20 or 24-25 and 25-26. I left in the higher amounts because in this district we've always historically used what the current school services of California cost of living is, and I'm not going to fault from that. But I do know one of the things that will affect coming up is we're hearing that cost of living adjustment is going to be in the low ones, or possibly mid ones, but it's going to be in the ones somewhere. So that's going to overall affect the revenue side of things greatly. And then enrollment projections, we've always gone back and forth on enrollment projections. So in this budget, we decided to build in, and this will kind of uptick revenues just a hair in that 24-25 year if you look. But those enrollment projections we uptick because one of the things that we have been tracking is the developments going on, right? And so we upticked enrollment by about 70 students, and that's because of a direct result from a meeting that a few of you guys on the board had, and then myself and Jeremy, and at the time Sharon was there. And we asked the tribe moving in on, oh gosh, I'm not good with the roads yet. It's Star and Windsor Road right there. And we asked them, how many kids are you expecting? And I think they said 72, and they had a direct number. So we budgeted for about 70 more kids because I've been in contact with PG&E because they're telling us that our power is going to be shut off for some time as they work on that road. And so, of course, asked, when are you going to get this all up and running? And when is occupancy going to go in? And they said May or June. I said, okay, good. I'm going to build in those 70 kids for next year. So that's built into this budget. That is a change.
Austin, can I interject? Austin and I have gone back and forth on this because there's a lot of ways to build a budget based on projected enrollment from projected homes that are going to be, it's very difficult. And so really what we've tried to decided unofficially is that we're going to wait until those things are ready to be occupied. When they're ready to be occupied, we'll apply the calculations that we've received for our demographic study, and then we will try to build them into our budget. But until that point, we're not doing it. We received developer fees for the project across the street, right? And you see how far along that is. So that was kind of the old way. Well, if you got developer fees, they're committed, they're going to go. Not necessarily. So we had a long conversation about this specific budget and what we were going to include. And that's kind of how we're going to do this moving forward.
So as you look, one of the things that we've really gone back and forth on is attendance as well. If you look historically in the history of Windsor's always been 94 to 95%. Good years, they'll be just above 95. But during COVID, we took a huge hit, right? And we talked about attendance, how we get funded off it and how that's changed previously to where now that average of attendance is kind of carrying over and we're seeing less and less funding because of it. But one of the notes in this is that we are budgeting to hopefully recover some of that attendance. You heard on, some of the principals talk about tonight. We talked about educator effectiveness money. We realize the problem with attendance, and if students are not attending school, that not only affects funding, but that also, that affects the students. We have to have students in school in order for all the different reasons. I'm not going to get into that. But so anyway, we did build in a higher attendance percentage at 93.7 and 94.2 in the 2 out years, with the prediction that students are going to start coming and feeling not safer at school, but more that COVID's in the past. UPP, this is, I don't even know if Rich is still on the phone, but this is one, he is always watching UPP, as I know many of you are, and we've slowly upticked. And so we have actually a pretty good process in place. This year it was a 90-day plan. I know several of you are familiar with 90-day plans, and we upticked it by 0.3. So we're kind of crawling there. But we have even plans for the future. And that's the beauty of the 90-day plan, is at the end, you get this beautiful plan of how you did everything. And then you can reflect on it and go, how do we make it better for next year? And that's what we did. So we have an even better plan to hopefully keep inching forward on that as we're close to that 55%. And then, of course, we build in staffing adjustments for certificated. As enrollment ebbs and flows down, obviously we would need less and less staff. And then STRS and PERS rates have not changed a whole lot. So looking at the combined, so this is one of those things, where we talk about a lot of separating unrestricted in a time like this and restricted. But I do want to show combined, right? So if you look at combined, I'm not going to read the numbers, but you can see that a large excess of that is being spent down, right? And some of that, a large portion of that is in unrestricted, but it also is in restricted programs. So those are our grants. Those are all the one-time money that we've received, and it can start becoming muddled. And so if you look, you can see that ending fund balance slowly again going down to 6.6. I'm going to go to the next slide if there's no more questions. Or no questions. So if you look at unrestricted, this is kind of the piece of when we start spending down those one-time monies and you look at combined, things can start getting cluttered. But unrestricted, as we've talked about, is really the structural piece of it. And obviously the large change from adopted will be, we've settled with labor agreements. But so we're looking at roughly a $3.1 million excess. And you can see that kind of going out in those out years. But again, I want to draw attention to that beginning fund balance at 10.2 and how that is continually being spent down, and it ends down to 2.6. So that's where we end up for 25, 26, and that's the current projections.
And Austin, can you share how this would change if COLA comes in lower than we've built in our budget?
Yeah, definitely. So let's say COLA comes in at 1.25. It would end up, I actually ran it, right? Ran it a few times. It ends up balancing out. So the reason why is because part of the agreement that we came to with WDA was the cost of living adjustment, whatever is enacted from the state, funded by the state, which of course we hope is as high as possible, right? I mean, we want to pay our teachers more than probably anyone out there. So if that gets enacted at 1.2, it ends up dropping us down in funding, but then it drops the expenditures down. And then if it goes up, well, then we get more funding, and then hopefully, we want it to go up, but it ends up balancing out. So I'm glad you brought that up, Jeremy. So if that COLA does go down, it ends up balancing us out. So I think as we talk about long-term planning, the number we really want to focus on is that 24, 25 excess number, that 3.2, right?
When you say excess, you mean deficit?
I mean deficit. Yes. Thank you, Jeremy. So this is looking at our fund balance. So we've talked about fund balance quite a bit, especially as we've received one-time monies. So this year, you can see that reserve for economic uncertainty. I put 5% there. We actually, in the 25-26 year, we don't meet the 5%. It is under 5%, but it is above 3%. And a reminder is at 3%, that is where the county then invokes its rights through Ed Code, where they come in and they say, oh, you guys, we're going to have a hand in this and you're going to have to prove to us that you can be fiscally solvent. So that's where we're at. Restricted, committed, or assigned. You guys kind of know what all that is, and a large portion of that is restricted dollars that we talked about are slowly going to be spent down as we receive those one-time monies.
So I have a question. Yeah. As far as those one-time monies, is VAPA also configured into this?
Good question. So VAPA, I think if the question is Prop 28 in this budget, that Prop 28 is in this budget in terms of as a receiving revenue. I didn't book in any expenditures because I want to wait till we have a plan to move forward with it before we start booking what we're going to spend it on. So again, that could affect the budget in the out years, right, moving forward. The other piece that is in here is the arts, music, and instructional materials block grant. So we received that block grant, and that was one of the ones on the first slide where it had changed a lot. They talked about cutting it in half, actually more than in half, and then they ended up giving us almost the full amount minus, $200 million at the state level. So yes, it is in here in terms of those two grants. Now, as we talk about a VAPA strategic plan moving forward, that will determine how all that is spent.
So you can predict how much you think we would get for Prop 28?
Correct, yes. And actually, we've received estimates from the state as well.
Oh, nice.
Usually it's me crunching numbers, like as I know Bill asked me, Austin, how much? And I'm, of course, ran it in my head and spit it out. And then the state gives us updated. And right now the updated from the state is roughly 540,000 for Windsor. And then Cali receives roughly 200 something around there for Cali. Yeah, it's all. Yeah.
Any comments or questions for Austin?
I have one more slide, and that's Cali's. So Cali is in a little bit of a different position than Windsor, which is funny because you'd think they would ebb and flow together. And I've noticed historically here they haven't necessarily done that. In years where the Windsor budget was doing well, Cali's budget wasn't doing so well. And in years where the Windsor budget's not doing so well, Cali's budget's doing well. I haven't dove into that really, and it wasn't until this budget that I realized that. So it's something I'm going to look into. But as you can see, this is Cali's budget. Yeah, not much to talk about here. But that's all I had. So does the board have any questions? Meadow? I'm just kidding.
I just want to say thank you because every time you're up here, you're always so thorough and it really helps me to understand, where we
definitely.
are. So thank you.
Thank you.
I have a comment, actually.
Yeah.
You called on me.
Meadow, by the way, I've been on several LTIs, and my favorite thing is all the questions that are asked at the end. So I know where it comes from.
They're so fun. But yeah, just thank you for making something I don't understand kind of understandable.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, so Austin, don't sit down. I'm concerned. We have a 3-year budget. The 4th year, we are out of money to pay it the way we are paying. And I think we need to be uber vigilant about that. That a place, the place to make those adjustments, sadly, is in the staff that, with our latest labor agreements for both of our unions are amongst the highest compensated when you go to total compensation of salary and benefits. I look at this and am still concerned, as I've been every year I've looked at these, that we have out of $42 million of gross revenues and for the unrestricted, there's some other things, 2.3 million on top of that comes from Cali. We have, that's about $46 million, $10.4 million of contributions go to the restricted programs.
Yes, sir.
I will generally categorize that as special education or other sort of supplemental programs. That's 37.8% of our restricted budget. It strikes me that we, as being creative as we were on metrics that matter, we have got to figure out a way to cut that number. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure whether we need to have less unrestricted programs, but we actually have quite a bit of unrestricted money.
Yep.
23% of it, 22.7 this year, in the next budget year, 23.3%. Soon a quarter of our budget is going to restricted programs that back in the day started with state and federal funding, right? Yep. So we've got to look at that because this, friends, is not a sustainable budget. We cannot afford this to not make adjustments in the next 2 years. We are spending from $13 million down when you look at, well, yeah, go to the combined. I think that's the key, right? We're going from 13 to 6, but we're spending at, now we reduce some of the deficit spending. That's the excess. It's a nice way to say it. But you go to 26, 27, we're out of money, right? At the spend rate that we're at. And so we just need to make, it's a structural deficit problem that we approved in good faith. I get it. I understand why we did it. Should there be continued downtrends from the state budget, we need to roll up our sleeves sooner than later to look to say, how are we going to tighten our belt? We are not going to be able to afford the educational program initiatives and all the good things we heard for 2.5 hours here or 2 hours or however long that was when we run out of money. Because right now we're spending more than we're bringing in. And we approved that, right? I get it. But we've got to now start to address that overspend. And I'll keep saying that. But I do think that contribution of 23% of our unrestricted funds, I know we've done some improvements in that. It used to be even higher, but not very many.
Not enough.
That's a discretionary call that we make because of restricted programs that we choose to fund. Now, some of them we have to shift that, but I don't know if 50% of that is discretionary decisions we make as policy. But friends, we've got to start to think about this now as we look at our budget adjustments for June, because we cannot continue to spend at this rate. We don't have the money. So just wanted to share that.
I think Bill's point needs to be well taken. In February, we will bring some tough decisions to you guys. It's the majority of our conversation right now is about positions and which ones are going to be able to stay in the district. So you can expect in February some recommendations from our team. We'll be working with our principals tomorrow. That will be some cuts to positions that we currently have.
Well, and I'd like us to think also, I mean, we talked about this a few years ago when you were first getting here and Pete Stefanisco was here saying, don't take counsel with your fears, where we thought we were going to have whatever that amount was going to be, a 30% cut in our budget. But I think also when we talk, we need to not necessarily think about thinning the soup across the boundaries and say, well, a 7% cut across the would do it. It may be that we cut vertically and say, are there programs? Are there particular school institutions? Are there things that may be, hey, these are characteristics of the Windsor district, that vertical program analysis as well as just thinning the soup across the board, if that's what it takes. And the other key is, and Jeff, the other key is we bring in more money, right? So we have a money problem. We're spending more than we have. We either spend less or we bring in more, and we're getting creative. But the two ways to do that is ADA update. And if we went to a couple of percentage increase in budget, it's $1 million, $1.5 million. It's free money that we're having go out the door when the kids aren't in school. So we just need to think about that, because I love the fact that we're talking about student performance and whatnot, but we are also doing budgets that are absent our attention, are running the district into the ground. And, I just.
So I think your point is well taken. And I think a couple of thoughts that run through my mind is one that Austin is going to come back with a more precise budget, right? A little bit later.
You mean an updated budget?
Yes.
Austin can't make a more precise budget. This is very precise. It can be updated based on decisions that you guys decide to take. So,
right.
And those are the recommendations that we'll bring to you. But this is the current picture of our budget with all the positions that we currently have.
Okay, and then I think the second thought I've had is that I know in the past we've run through different scenarios of what would happen if we kept, losing money, right? We had talked about different situations of how to resolve that. So I think at least for me, it would be helpful to revisit, some of those slides that we saw before about where we could potentially make decisions.
Yep, that's what we're working on now, establishing exactly what those decisions will be, because really they're just recommendations to you guys. And so we'll bring those in February so that there's two touches to those decisions. They have to be made by March 15th, and we'll give you 2 opportunities to make these decisions.
Great. All right, thank you.
May I say something?
One more question, one more comment.
Okay. So as I just don't know much about this stuff, would we be able to have maybe special board meeting or something so that Kai and I could be more well-informed on what may be going on?
I could just meet with both of you.
Okay.
I'm happy to do that. We have our monthly meeting. That could be one of our topics.
Yeah, would we be able to possibly have 2 meetings that month then? Because as our empathy interviews are picking up, I wouldn't want to take away
Absolutely,
from that.
of course.
And then, I lost what I was going to say. Well, never mind.
No problem.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the first interim financial report for this year.
Pretty much what I needed to.
Oh,
No, he doesn't listen.
okay. So I made a motion.
It's all right.
All right, I'll second.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Meadow,
Yes?
Kai,
Yes.
Malinali,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Rich.
Yes.
Thank you, Rich. We're done.
Okay, so moving on to 8.1, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second this motion.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, we still need to.
Oh,
Oh, we need a roll call. on
also,
the-
okay, thank you.
Meadow,
Yes.
Kai,
Yes.
Malinali,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Rich.
He has hung up.
Okay, you already adjourned.
Danielle wants me to
All
remind you, Steve Hoffman has a music recital tomorrow morning at the theater at Winter High School.
Yes.
While I have all you board members, I need you.
right.